Hello. Sorry for the long wait. I was adjusting some stuff. Last second adjustments, but welcome in everyone. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. How are you all doing? How are y'all doing? Welcome in, Coffee. Welcome. Thank you so much for the mod work there. Good work. Good work. Hello. Isahashi, hello, Nuli, hello, Ange, and Rhea, hello. Welcome in. I hope everyone's having a good week. It's Friday again. I skimped out on stream last Saturday, so... Did I only stream once last week? I don't even remember. This week, I know there was Terraria on Tuesday, but I didn't stream that either because I was late. I was not very fashionably late. I was just very late. I hope everyone's doing well. It is the weekend. I'm brain farting. I'm getting closer to my vacation though. I'm getting closer to my little break that is coming up. I'm going to be gone from October 17th to November like 7 or 8. I don't know what day I'll stream yet, but I should be back either on November 7th or November 8th. One or the other. I'm so ready to take some time off of work, guys. I didn't take a single day off of work the whole year. Can you believe it? I saved it all up for the end of the year. Now I only have I technically only have 4 weeks of work left. Because I took the rest of the year off. But hi, Seraphine! Welcome in! Good to see you, Seraphine. How are you? How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. Oh yeah, also with the thing with the daily routines maxing out at 99. So I didn't fix it yet. But I think the problem is that I need to update my software for that. I think the old software just doesn't work with the new Twitch APIs anymore. So I'll try to update it and see if I can fix that. But yeah. I'll be streaming today. Today's Silent Hill F as usual. Tomorrow is actually no stream. But instead I'm going to be doing a community night. I don't know if everyone saw the event channel on my Discord. But tomorrow night, 10 PM EST is Phasmophobia community night. Since it is spooky season. I mean, it's spooky season every day for me, but Phasmophobia is... It's a timely game for October. My good partner got me some boba. Hey, what kind of boba did you get? That sounds yummy. I haven't had boba in so long. I've been on such a Starbucks... I've been such a Starbucks freak the past few months. I haven't really touched boba. I hope you got some yummy boba. Biscoff matcha boba? Ugh, that sounds so good. That always sounds so good. That sounds so good. You always have yummy matcha something. Like Oreo matcha or Biscoff matcha or something matcha. It sounds so good. That sounds so good. Oh, Foodstep-boo. I am Foodstep-boo, Hashi. Welcome, Hashi. How are you? I hope you had a good week, Hashi. I hope you're feeling better, by the way. I know you were a little sick on Tuesday still, during Terraria. I hope you're feeling better. Hope you didn't get too much homework and you can rest this weekend. That would be nice. It's up and down. Oh, okay. Yeah. Hopefully it gets fully better soon. Hopefully you reach full health. Full health in a few more days. Oh, exam. Evil exam. What kind of exam did you do? Was it a coding exam? Oh gosh. Hate coding exams. Today, this morning, I did some leet code. I don't know if everyone knows what leet code is. But leet code is like the thing you're supposed to study for if you want to get a job in coding. Every job interview related to software engineering has a technical interview that makes you solve these like coding problems from leet code. Yeah, I did some leet code this morning. Math. Ugh. I don't like math. I don't like math. Is it the discrete math class? Is it the discrete mathematics? I also had a coding test, but it was easy. That's good. That's good. Seems like you're already on a good start, Hashi. If at this point you still think the test is easy, you'll probably be fine. You'll be a good coder. Because I struggled with my coding classes. I struggled so much. It's the gaslighting math. So it's discrete math. That's gaslighting math. Oh. Hopefully it went well. Hopefully you got an okay score. Or even better, a great score. But it is math, so... I think as long as you get a passing grade, that's all that matters. It's a hard class. You got this, Hashi. You are smart. You are atama ga ii. You're very smart. But yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's Phasmo. So if anyone wants to join, it's on my Discord. It's the details at least are on Discord. Hold on. Discord. There we go. So I'll be doing that. It's first come, first serve. Since Phasmophobia doesn't have mods, they can't have mods. So it's only up to 4 players. So the first game will be first come, first serve, and then after that, I'll just try to rotate people out if there's more than 3 other people. Yeah. That's the plan. That is the plan for tomorrow. And then maybe I'll stream Sunday, just because I'm not streaming tomorrow. And I want to finish Silent Hill before I leave. I can't just leave without finishing Silent Hill. By the time I come back, we're all gonna forget what it was about. I don't even know how to play the game, so I'll just lurk. Yeah, no worries, you can lurk. Yeah, lurking is also welcome. You don't have to participate. If you do participate, you don't even have to have your mic on. It is A-okay. I want to hear you scream though, Coffee. I was hoping I would hear you scream, but alas, another time, I suppose. コーヒーの叫び声を聞けると思ったけど、また今度ね。いつか聞けるはず、コーヒーの叫び声。うん。Maybe if I step on you hard enough, you'll scream loud enough. I mean, what? What? Who said that? Who said that? Not me. I mean, I can join, but I have no idea what I'm doing. That's fine. I mean, I don't have any idea what I'm doing either. To be honest, I'm so bad at Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia, it's so hard to guess what ghost it is. I don't even know how to play the game. I just go in there, I scream, I run around, and then I die. And that's just it. Phasmo 難しいよね。あれ、1回か2回ぐらいしかお化けのあれ当たったことない。終わった後。だいたいゲーム始まって走り回って叫びながら走り回って死ぬっていう展開。難しいよあれ。You kind of have to be fearless in Phasmo, I think, to be able to do everything and then guess the monster correctly. I've seen people play it and just gotta have like no fear. You have to face the ghost head on. I think that's a very good idea. Coffee being awfully honest today. 正直者だね。正直者なコーヒー。Speaking of coffee, I'm back to drinking coffee during stream. I'm sipping some coffee right now. I feel like the past few streams I've been very low energy. I just don't have any energy to be streaming. If you die enough, you get used to it. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why those YouTube Phasmophobia professionals are just like so nonchalant about playing. They just don't care. They'll be like, there's the ghost. Okay, I'm gonna do a ring around the rosy around this table with the ghost. I'm gonna take a really good long look at it. And then they just like... They run around the table with the ghost chasing them for like 5 minutes. 素直な人です。うん、素直でよし。素直でよし、コーヒー。Honesty is good. I encourage honesty at all times. But yep. I know Squiddy also dropped the game in game recommendations. I forget what it was called. Let me look. That one also looks really fun. I was thinking of doing that for November maybe. It is $10 though, so maybe not everyone will have it. We'll see if anyone's interested. Oh yeah, Labyrinth. I never played it, but it looks cool. It says, embark on a heart-pounding journey into the realm of nightmares with Labyrinth. A co-op horror game that will make you question every step. Gather your courage and team up with friends as you enter the abandoned Happisburg hedge maze. So it's a hedge maze horror game. Or dive headfirst into the spine-chilling case files where every investigation leads to unspeakable truths. Or whatever. Actually, it doesn't say truths. It cuts off at unspeakable. But I think that's what it says. I gotta wing it. You should intentionally step on, I mean die, then you can build up tolerance. Intentionally step on? Intentionally step on? Coffee secretly wants to be the ghost so he can be stepped on by everyone. Not just me, but everybody else. 踏んづけるの踏んづけるのパズムでお化け踏んづけちゃうコーヒーがお化けになるDon't worry, Seraphine. This is just your daily scheduled program with coffee. It's just coffee being coffee. Don't worry about it. But you know what? I can be stepped on too by Krauser. I'll pay Krauser to step on me. Daily coffee, yes. Daily coffee shenanigans. Right now I have like... So I've been like looking at like lore. I don't know if... well... Maybe some people remember that I was playing No I'm Not a Human. I was playing No I'm Not a Human. And there's this character in the game. I haven't really played much since then. But there's this one character in this game that I really like. Another collection. Another addition to my collection. But the only thing is this character is supposedly not into women. He's only into men. But I can still love him platonically, right? I can still love him platonically. Yeah. Actually, yes, I know Krauser. Yeah, Krauser can step on me any day. And call me a disappointment. Leon, move over. It's my turn. It's my turn to be called a disappointment. Move over, Leon. Get out of the way. And if I'm the ghost, the signs will be very telling. What would the signs be? コーヒーがお化けだったらどんなサインがあるの？どんな証拠が出てくる？ Maybe empty coffee cans? Cute, I know. It's a cute character. Which is kind of maybe interesting to say because the characters in the game are supposed to be like very uncanny looking. They're very uncanny, but I love this character so much. Everyone calls this character Wireface. Because they don't have a name. None of the characters have a name. Wireface. It's okay. I'll platonically love him. I respect his boundaries. I'll just love him from afar. Makes me want to play the game more. There's so much to the game, but it's so hard to like get more out of it because you just all the characters die so easily. They die or they're either kidnapped, taken away by the government. Maybe I'll play more. Maybe I will. I was gonna start the game early today, just so I can get through more. I was gonna chat for 30 minutes and then play the next 30 minutes. So it's almost 30 minutes. So maybe I'll get started with the game. いつもね、最初雑談しすぎて1時間ぐらい雑談しちゃうからさ、今日は30分だけにしようと思ってる。30分だけ雑談して30分、あとの残りの30分はゲームしようと思う。I also noticed that, so before, you know you can add tags, right, to your Twitch streams? Like, no backseating, or like, English, or VTuber, or whatever. Before, I couldn't add the tag that says Nihongo. It didn't let me add it for some reason. It bugged out and it was like, you can't add special characters. And then it let me add it, but I think now, I managed to add it. I think I have Nihongo tag on it now. So I can't disappoint anyone, any Nihonjin no kata that comes in. Any Japanese person that comes in, I have to speak more Japanese. Anonymous, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Thank you, thank you. I hope you're doing well, Anonymous. Thank you so much. Anonymous GigaChat 0707. Thank you so much. Thank you for gifting to Unknown, The Air, Nully, Checksum, and Jast. Thank you so much. Thank you, arigato. I hope you're doing well. Fortnite. Fortnite? Fortnite? Should we play Fortnite? なんでフォートナイト急にどうしたのどうしたの。そう、さっき言ってたのがね、その、前は日本語のタグがつけられなかったんだけど、配信に。なんかつけようとすると、なんかバグって、ダメだったんだけど、でもつけられるようになったから、もうちょっと頑張って日本語で話します。もうちょっと頑張るね。Alright. Time to move over. Time to do the games. I gotta try to finish. I don't have confidence that I can finish. I don't have a whole lot of confidence that I can finish Silent Hill before I leave. But I'll try to get as far as I can. It says I've already played 7 hours. もう7時間もサイレントヒルやってるって書いてある。7時間もやってるのにまだ全然終わりに近づけないんだけど。まだ全然近づいてない。めっちゃ最初のところだよ、まだ。You have to turn off Google Chrome. Takes up a lot of resources. I forget where we left off. So last time... Oh yeah, we ended up back in the hot... Oh no, he's hot! Fox guy's place. After we fought the big boy. The Elden Ring boss, and then... Why did we... I don't even remember how we ended up back in the Fox guy's place. I'm trying to remember. Does anybody remember? Nihongo oishii yo ne. Nihongo oishii. Oishii no Nihongo. Oishii nda. そうなんだね。I didn't know Japanese has a taste. Apparently it's delicious. 英語は美味しい。一番美味しい言語って何？英語？日本語？ロシア語？韓国語？もぐもぐ。かわいい。もぐもぐ。もぐもぐ。日本語もぐもぐ。Let me know if this sounds good too. 今日は疲れた。わー、how is she speaking Japanese? 今日は疲れた。はい。私も疲れた。I'm also tired, Hashi. I'm tired every day. 毎日疲れてます。なんか音がうるさい。Every day is a tiring day. I just want to sleep every day. So real. I just want to sleep. Okay. Oh yeah, and I remember last time we had that screen tear issue. Thank you for the lurk. But I got here and then I picked up an item too, right? なんかアイテム前拾ったよね、ここら辺で。ちょっと待ってね。ペッポン。アイテム。ラムネ。あられ。アイテムじゃなかったっけ？ Did I not pick up an item last time? ラムネ。水。The heck? お守り。Wait, do I have better お守り now? Let me see. Clam and cat. Decreases damage taken while dodging. And plum was max stamina. Okay, that's fine. 英語はちょっと苦い。あ、そうなの？苦い味がするな、英語って。じゃあ、中国語は？コーヒー、中国語話してるけど、中国語はどんな味がする？英語が大人の味。そうなの？英語はなんか甘い感じがする気がする。日本語はなんだろう？日本語も甘いのかな？英語ほど甘くないかも。程よい甘さ。Apparently English is bitter according to coffee. I think English is sweet. I think it would taste sweet. Collectibles, map. I really don't remember what I did last time. I swear I picked up something, but I do not remember. There was like something, like a key or something? Uh-oh. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going the right way. Oh, never mind. Never mind. It was just the... Oh, what's that? Wait, what did she see? Okay. There's like a little shrine thing in there. It's like a... Is that a weapon? なんか武器みたいのがある。I have to get in there, I guess. どうにか中に入らないと。I feel like there's a boss fight coming up. I sense a boss fight. Okay. Here. Maybe in here? Wait, what am I looking at? I'm looking at something. Oh, ancient note. Okay. There are valuable relics hidden away in the old storage room. They must be kept under lock and key. The last girl slipped in while I wasn't looking. It took a long time to find her. Last girl? Fox guy, you're cheating on me? There's another girl? 狐のお兄さん浮気してるんだ。前の女の子って誰？私じゃない。私だけじゃないの？私だけを愛してくれないの？羊羹。I've been seeing a lot of fan art though. Like, not spoiler fan art, but like just fan art of Hinako and the fox guy. And the fox guy is like... He's always like smitten with Hinako in every fan art. He's like... Always like super like in love with her. And Hinako's just like very tsun. She's like... Huh? I think I'm missing something. Search for the missing object part. Okay, なんかここにはまるものがあるんだね。日本語甘い、中国語辛い。確かに。中国語辛そうだね、確かに。うん。でも一番甘い。一番甘いは、なたって書いたの？コーヒー。コーヒー。やだ。めっちゃ嫌な音する。Did I just miss something? I think I wasn't paying attention. Coffee distracted me. Silly coffee. Silly coffee. I also know how to say... 誰それ？鬼方？かよこが大好き？ Who's that? Wait, who's that? Who's Kayoko? Should I know about Kayoko? These look like a lot of very expensive artifacts in this room. I'm a little scared though. Okay, it's blocked. I have to get over there, but I also have to find the item that goes in there. It's like a maze. なんか迷路みたい。迷子になりそう。She's my fave? Is that the girl with the white hair that you're always talking about? Oh, Wolf Ride! おはようございます。おはようございます。おはようございますか。Thanks for coming again. How are you? 元気ですか? Hi, Squiddy. Welcome in, Squiddy. How are you? I'm glad you made it. I started a little early today, Squiddy. I just wanted to get a head start. Shriveled 油揚げ。乾燥した油揚げ。Is this a stage? I guess so. Stage. White and black, yes. Yeah, okay. I was like, it has to be that girl. It has to be that girl with the white and black hair. Okay. She is very pretty indeed. 壺の中になんか入ってないかな。なんか入ってそうだけど。バイオハザードだったらこの壺割れそう。もうサイレントヒルだから割れない。元気です。息子が風邪なんです。そうなんですか。Oh no. I hope your son feels better. I hope he feels better. I don't know. Was I already in this room? I'm lost. I'm already lost. I'm doing well. I see that you jumped right in. Yeah, I tried it for like 30 minutes and then I was like, you know, I'm just gonna jump right in because I only have 1 week. あと配信あと1週間で1回3週間ぐらいお休みを取るので、できるだけこのゲーム進めたい。できれば終わらせたいんだけど、多分正直1週間で終わる気がしない。Blue Archive. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a Blue Archive character, right? Don't get lost, thank you. I'll try not. I'm already lost. もう迷子です。Looks cool. It does. I'm super excited for Fast Mode tomorrow. I recall you saying that the lighthouse level is the worst. I hate the lighthouse level. The lighthouse is so scary. It's so scary. But I'm excited too. I am also excited. It'll be a good time. A good fun time before I go on break. My son is still 6 years old. Yeah, I know. Yes. Your son is still very small, so I hope the cold... I hope he feels better soon. I know it can be pretty hard on young kids, so... I stream once or twice a month. That's a good amount of time though, if you're busy with other stuff, you know. ねえ、本当に迷子ね。ずっと同じとこぐるぐる回ってる。地図ないのかな？地図。なるほどね。I'm still missing an object, an item. I already went out this way and there was nothing there. What? Oh! Yeah. I got this key last time. Yeah. Okay. もう鍵をもらったこと忘れてた。We have to do that level then. Strength is numbers, I say. Okay, we're gonna play, but Coffee's gonna be the lead. Okay? Coffee has to lead. I'm scared of the lighthouse. なんかやだ。なんか嫌な音した。怖い。怖い。 Okay, the doll. It feels like once I read this, it's gonna enter a boss or a chase sequence or something. A warning. Hinako is mine. Her fingers. Her lips. Every last drop of blood that can be squeezed from her is mine. Oh, yandere. Who wrote this? The yandere person wrote this letter. I forbid anyone from laying so much as a finger on her. I shall say until my throat is raw. Hinako is mine. What? A love letter? Love letter? ちょっと怖いけど、ラブレター。Wow. Did Krauser write this? Krauser for me? I got so good at Phasmo, but that was before all the updates, so I may be completely outclassed now. I'll try my best. Ooh, okay, maybe I gotta rely on you then. I'm not good at Phasmo at all, so you're gonna have to... Maybe you'll lead the way, Squiddy. Kohi, you have to lead the way. When we go to the lighthouse tomorrow in Phasmo. It's my least favorite. It's so scary. I want to Battlefield 6? Battlefield 6, yeah. That just came out, right? Or it's like a kind of a new game, I think. I think I have Battlefield 6 actually, but I don't know if I'll play it. Read a little too much, keep an eye out. Yeah, Hashi... Hashi knows me too well. Hashi knows me. I know, I was like, love letter. Yay! I'm happy. I'm happy with this scary love letter. Hinako shouldn't have opened that P.O. box. Yeah, Hinako fan. Fan letter. Ne. Hi, Junie, welcome in. I'm back. I'm playing some more Silent Hill, and I just got a love letter. Look at this very yandere love letter that I just got. I'm not mad about it. I'm happy about it. Broke this. Oh no. I think I got Battlefield 6 through like a campaign that Intel was doing. Apparently if you bought an Intel like CPU within like August or September, you get like a free copy of Battlefield 6 or something. I think that's how I got it. My family thinking I'm ATM. ATM. お財布ってことですが。That means they rely on you. That means they rely on you and they trust you. It's a good... I think it's a good thing. I am not here. Yes, Nibis, you are not here. You are not here, Nibis. I did not see Nibis. How goes the silent healing? Pretty good. I just started. I'm just doing... I'm at the Hot Fox guy's place again. And I just read a yandere love letter to me. I'm very happy. Don't believe the fox's words. Stay away from the western room. I believe anything that man says. I will believe anything that beautiful man says. 狐を信用するなって書いてあるけど、狐って信用しちゃダメなの？イケメンの狐だったらイケメンだったら信用しちゃうかも。Okay, so I don't know what that was for. I didn't even get an item, right? ダメ。狐は騙すからね。そうか。そうですね。確かに騙すって聞いたことあるかも。でもイケメンだからなんかな。なんとなーくなんか言うこと聞きたくなっちゃう。But I am curious though. I wonder if the fox is actually bad in this game. We'll see. They said don't go to the western room? Where's the western room? Over there? Across the hall? こっち? In this room? でもさっきここにいたよね。So more of the story, send for $10 million. Don't send me $10 million. I will use it all to get goods for my favorite fictional characters. Don't send me $10 million. Yeah, I got a yandere love letter. From someone. Maybe the fox guy. They said they want me. They want me. They want my lips. They want my hair. They want my... everything with my blood. I feel loved. What am I supposed to put in here? Nanka, it's like some kind of cylindrical object. タヌキとキツネは化けて人間を騙すのです。あー、なるほど。そっか。じゃあ気をつけます。気をつけます。Can't believe someone sent you yandere letter by mail. Yeah, is it so romantic? How do I get in there? あの中に入りたい。Maybe... I think I need to open that item. Ah! Oh, okay. I have to look for that little globe. あ、なるほどね。水晶っていうのかな、なんかボールみたいな、玉みたいな。これを探せってことかな。まだ入ってない部屋ってある。ここか。ここまだ入ってないのか。ここ行ってみる。どうやって行こう。一回出て右、左右、左。I got one of those ones. Do you know who also played this game? Who played this game? Is it my favorite VTuber Oshi Beru-san? Because I've been watching that. こっち行って、この部屋？西の部屋ってここ？入ってないの？ここ一度も。あ、入ったことないかも、この部屋。Tanuki and foxes disguise themselves to deceive humans. Yeah. They're little tricksters. Little tricksters. Look at these pictures of beautiful women. Wait. This is the girl that went missing. Ah! That's me! That's me! これうちだよね、これ。これ私じゃん。頭ないけど。これ何？これ何？江戸時代、大正時代で、これ一番ゲームの最初でさ、行方不明になってる女の子だよね、これ。神隠しってやつ。神隠し。Dude, this is the girl that they were talking about in the beginning of the game, that she was wearing a white blouse, a navy skirt, and a scarf that went missing. Now she's here. And then the girl before that, and then the girl before that. Uh-oh. That's not good. Krauser products? Yeah, Nevis. I was about to say I will spend 10 million on Krauser products, but I don't think there's even that many Krauser products out there. Chinami, 2周目行くとエンディングが読めないけど意味はなんとなくわかる。2周目行くとエンディング。2周目？もう一回最初からやるってことかな。Like start from the beginning again, the second round? Oh, yeah. I think I know. Yeah. I think Hashi is doing that, right? なんかHashiがなんか2周目を今やってるって聞いた気がするけど。Branch out if you play second time. Yeah. 彼女の名前が書いてあるよ。本当？ I can't read it. 読めない。字が読めない。こういう字読めないんだよね。 It's like cursive. I can't read it. でもなるほど。I can see it, but I can't read it. Miyuki? This one, Miyuki-san. Miyuki-san? I wonder who it is though. Like, does she have is she important in this story? Will I ever meet Miyuki somewhere? The wall perfectly told Fruit what's gonna happen to her. I know, like, they're gonna cut my head off and put it on this painting. That's what's gonna happen. You already started, yeah, no spoilers. Yeah, I assumed, yeah, you can usually second round you can get like a different ending. That's how they encourage you to play more. 2周目怖やつを信じるなって他の女性たちが言ってます他の女の子たちが言ってるよ。じゃあみんな狐にもてあそばれたんだ。They were all played by the fox. They said don't believe him. But he's so かっこいい He's so attractive. Never mind. It's this one. This is what I need to put on there. Image of the god Inari. It looks like it might fit somewhere. Yes. Nice. A lot of scrolls in there. Scrolls. 右から2番目が2番目のやつか読めなかった Thank you. Cursive Japanese writing, her one weakness. Cursive Japanese and cursive English are my weaknesses. I can't read it. One time my grandma wrote me a letter in cursive English and I couldn't read it. I had to read it in front of class as like a project and I couldn't read it. 一回昔アメリカのおばあちゃんから手紙をもらったんだけど、その手紙が筆記体で書かれてて筆記体読めなかった。全然しかもクラスの前で読まなきゃいけなかったのに全然読めなくて先生に怒られたっていうことがある日本語もあれ筆記体っていうのかわからないけど、ああいうのってちょっと読めないんだよねI don't know if I was ever asked, but can you write Japanese Fruit? Yes, I can write Japanese. But my handwriting is really bad. Like, it's like chicken scratch. とりあえず日本語読み書きはできるんだけど、めちゃくちゃ字汚いです。英語だと字汚くないんだけど、日本語だとめちゃくちゃ字が汚い。It's empty. Well, I can save, I guess. I should save before I do anything. Okay. And I can read, like, most kanji, but if it's, like, kanji I don't use day to day, then I can't read it. I need help. But sometimes kanji works where you can, like, read it, even if you've never seen it before. Sometimes you can read it depending on, like, by looking at the parts of the kanji, because it might have like similar parts as another kanji that you can read, and they oftentimes have the same reading. So sometimes you can guess. I never learned cursive. Hashi was in the generation that never learned cursive. Nah, Hashi's so young. 先生ね。先生に怒られた。日本語で字が汚いのは IQ が高いと言われています。そんなことないですよ。IQ は高くないと思います。ただ、書き慣れてないだけというか、書き慣れてないだけです。I write exclusively in cursive. I'm gonna have trouble reading Squiddy's letters. I become so old, but apparently everyone loves my handwriting. I remember a girl I liked flat out told me that she didn't. Oh no! But she would marry my hand. That is so... I don't know how to feel about that. Oh, I mean, thank you, but also so sad. Oh no. I mean, at least she was like direct. You know, she didn't beat around the bush or anything. I mean, sometimes that's good. But nah, I want to see your handwriting now. You should drop a picture of your handwriting, Squiddy, in the Discord. My handwriting is almost as good as a doctor. You mean chicken scratch? Really? Chicken scratch? なんて読むのそれ? Yeah. Yeah, I can't read that coffee. That's what I mean. I can't read kanji that you don't use day to day. 日常で使うような漢字しか読めないからさ、今書いたの全然読めないです。はい。コーヒー。夜、霧かなし、く。なんか四字熟語みたいな。読めない。I can write cursive English, but I can't read it. I am not the one that wrote it. Yeah, cursive is hard. I can't read it. I can write it, I think, but I cannot read it. あ、入った。Okay. Please don't start a chase sequence. I hate chase sequences. Enter the inner room. これ、is this the western room? Oh, it is. これがさっきの西の部屋ってやつか。I didn't know how to feel either. You're like, thanks? But what? 見た目に気を取られがちですが、実は字の汚さには深い意味があります。そうなんですか？ああ、そうなんだ。でも字って結構性格が出たりしますよね。No! Oh, I have to fight the thing! With the book! Maybe I don't. I want to pick it up. Give it to... Naginata. An exquisitely crafted ornamental pole arm that is extremely sturdy and is able to be used as a weapon. Okay. I'm going to be using this. Heck yeah! Kuruna! ちょっと待って。I have to fight this thing! 怖い。怖っ。I still don't know how to parry. I don't know how to dodge. I can dodge actually, but cool. Why am I taking damage? Oh, okay. Okay, that one wasn't too hard. The fire's gone now. Oops. I have to fight with this now? I got a long range weapon. It feels like there's gonna be boss fight. もうそろそろボスが出てきそう。Is that it? Is that all I had to do? Is just a tutorial on how to use it? I could do that. Yeah, I wanna see. 字を書くという声は私たちの内面を表現する大切な手段でもあります。確かに。最近は何でもコンピューターとか携帯でこうタイプしちゃうからあんまりこうペンでこうやって字を書くことってないですよね。It's the era of typing. It's important to write with pen and pencil or pen and paper. Pen and paper sometimes. It's just よろしく but how Yankee and anime, right? I can't read that coffee. What the heck? よろしく. Oh, I've never seen it like that before. 字が汚い人には感性の豊かさを示す表れがあります。手書きの字が汚いことは、直感力や想像力が優れていることを意味しています。細かいところにこだわりすぎず、あれなんかちょっと待って。Why is he still alive? No! No! What? Wait, is this weapon? Does this weapon have durability? I hope it doesn't, because maybe I don't need to fight it. Maybe I don't need to fight it. I'm going. 逃げます。大事なものだと思うけど。ちょっと待って。まだ生きてた。こだわりすぎず対極的な視点を持つことができるんです。字が汚い人はアイデアを具現化する才能を持っていることが多いですよ。そうなんですね。 I hope so. Is all I can say. I hope so. Mm. I hope I am like that. I hope that's why my handwriting is bad. But you can also lock on with the analog stick. You're making it hard on yourself, Goober. Thank you, Hashi. I forgot about the lock on thingy. Alright, I'm gonna go on ad break. Okay, 休憩します. I'll be back. Okay, I am back. I am back. It was like, yeah, I'm getting back up again now. Yeah, they're like, you're taking too long. You're still here. You want to go for round two? Round two? Dual reading pen and pencil. Ambidextrous to the next level. 字は汚い人の特徴として思考の自由さと独自性があります。字を汚さずに美しく書くということよりも自分の思いを素直に表現することが優先されます。このような人は常に独自の視点や意見を持っており、他の人とは一味違った発想を持っています。字の汚さが彼らの個性をより一層引き立てているのです。Wow! You're so nice, Wolf. Well, I hope that is what I hope that's what it is. I hope that's what it is. Wolf is just talking about how like people with dirty handwriting have dirty handwriting because you're like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's a lot of like good things. Like you're honest, you're creative, you're imaginative, or maybe it's like correlated with intelligence and things like that. So thank you. I hope that's what it is. I'm trying to find a pen that works so I can write you a letter, not having looked so far. It's okay. I will wait patiently for your letter. I will wait for 50 years. It's been 84 years. I'll still be waiting. What was the new... Oh, monster. Wait, no. Fogtown Shrine. Oh, okay. New monster. Monster that possesses sharp blades for legs. Did someone sever both of its legs and replace with such disturbing things so it couldn't go anywhere? Or was this creature brought into existence just so it could end up like this? Okay. Very Silent Hill. Very Silent Hill monster. I was watching a different VTuber play this like yesterday, and they mentioned something I forgot. I forgot that all the monsters in Silent Hill are like a reflection of like the protagonist. I forgot. So that's like interesting to think about while you're playing it, I guess. See like what each monster might represent. Like how Pyramid Head represents guilt for James. You're just describing yourself, Rue. Kind, smart, amazeballs. No! No, Hashi, no! You're too nice. No. I was just translating what Wolf said. I didn't say that's me. I didn't say that's me, but thank you. Even if handwriting is messy, be confident in yourself and believe that it is unique. Thank you. That's such a good message. Wolf is sharing their wisdom with us. Very wise. Wise words. Thank you. I wonder what Fruits Monster represents. Fruits Monsters are all buff men. They're all buff. And they represent my desires. They just all look like Krauser. Maybe this is like a touchy subject, but have you ever thought about like if you were in the world of Silent Hill, what would your monster look like? Yeah, well, I am. Checkmate. Checkmate. No, I've been checkmated. Checkmated. Desire for what? Desire for buff men, I suppose. I don't know. I'm a simple-minded creature. I see buff men, I click. I'm sure my monsters would have tentacles. True. Squiddy tentacles. Okay. Fogtown. Are there more monsters in Fogtown? Oh, I missed them. A moving scarecrow, or at least the potential to just locally crucified corpse from far away. Contrary to his name, it scares more kids off than crows. True. A giant repulsive lump of flesh that is filled to the brim with a maniacal anger. I can't even read. Maniacal anger. It howls awfully as it swings its large knife in any which direction. Its unfettered anger is no different from that of a wild animal. No, it's far worse than that. Yeah, I fought that big boy. Didn't get to kill it. Okarishimasu. Hi, dragon. Welcome in. Oh my god, Twin Step. Hi. It's time to take over the world. Take over the world? Really? Wow, this is so pretty. めっちゃ綺麗。なんか、あれみたい、あれ。ラプンツェルの映画に出てくる。ラプンツェル全然違うけども。It's like the scene at Rapunzel. With the lanterns in the water. Or on top of the water or something. Mine would just be a version of the town I grew up in with fog. Like Silent Hill. That would be fun. Actually, that's not fun. I don't know. I like my town, which is why I think it's fun. But maybe people have different feelings about the town they grew up in. Spotted. Yeah, hi. Dragon spotted. How are you, Dragon? This is a boss fight, guys. もうこれ絶対これボス出てくるじゃん。ここもう絶対そうじゃん。ここで保存して。This game looks so fun. It is fun. It is really fun. It's really pretty. It's very pretty. I don't think I have enough. I have 30 faith. Pray. I can't pray. I don't have Emma. Huh? Emma あるか? I do have Emma, but I don't have enough faith. Cool. Maybe I should save faith for this from now on. What's your favorite meal? My favorite meal is spaghetti. Meatball, tomato spaghetti with salad. Mmm. What about you? Dan Bear and I talked about that too. Blushes. Our favorite, Dan Barrett. Investigate the sacred door. We just want to drop in and say hello, have a good stream, and don't be sus. I'll try not to be Nebis, but I think I'm failing already. I think I'm failing. Good night. Is a cutie? Pass it on? No, you're a cutie. Dragon's a cutie. Pass it on. Something's supposed to go here too. Oh no, I have to find the key that goes in there. Sakuko? Ah! Thank you for the apples, Nebis. This key, is it the same one as before? Oh, is this the door I came through last time? But I died like right here. I didn't die, but I went back to reality. Spicy food. Oh yeah, spicy food is so good. I agree. I also love spicy food. That's for failing? Okay. You know what? Fair. Fair enough. Akan, akan. Nani ga akan, akan? Nande? Nani ga? Doshite? Is a cutie pass it on? Squiddy is a cutie pass it on? Ne, Sakuko. Yeah, Sakuko. Sakuko died. She's dead. Presumably. これさ、前、キツネのお兄さんと会った時にさ、ここら辺で倒れなかったっけ？違うかな？違うか？これ逆か。逆、ここで倒れたと思ったんだけど、違うか。逆だね。おかん、おかん。おかん。おかん。Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about this. Sakuko died. There's no way. And when did I get this knife? Oh, this is the knife from before. So I know the pipe doesn't carry over into this reality. What is your top 10 favorite spicy food? That's a lot of spicy foods. I don't know. I can't put it in order, but I like Takis. I like Tabasco. I like kimchi. I like spicy ramen. I like... I don't know if this counts, but I like karashirenkon. Karashirenkon is like mustard lotus roots. They're very good. Karashirenkon は辛いよね。でも、唐辛子とは違うタイプの辛さだよね。Oh gosh, I don't want to fight all these guys. I think I have infinite durability though. Takis are so good, I know. Takis with like lime is even better. I don't want to fight it. Because these guys just come back to life, right? Maybe I can do a little ring around the rosy. Maybe not. Actually, I can't do a ring around the rosy. Well, maybe I can. Well, I need to get in that room. あの部屋に入りたいんだけど、うろついてる。走ったら聞こえるよね、さすがに。でも走ります。Is there any items? There are no items in here? Walking outside. No items. Oh. Omamori. Greatly decreases focus charging time. Actually, did you ever use the focus feature? Because I never use it. Is it important? Oh, spicy popcorn sounds good too. I've heard you can put Tabasco with popcorn. It tastes pretty good. Oh, お守りのためだけなのこの部屋は。Is it just to get the お守り? Nothing else in this room. 本当にお守りだけ? Okay. Go that way? Okay. Yeah, I gotta go... Oh! Go out, take a left, take a right. Okay. I'm just gonna wait a little bit. She a runner? She a track star? True. She can run away from these monsters, I guess. Like this. Wait. There was something here by the entrance. Bansoko. Oh, wait. I can give this burage to someone. The thing. I can't talk. I don't need divine water. I don't need that much. Okay, that's divine water. Okay, never mind. I don't want that. Not very often, but it's helpful. Uh-oh. There's a lot of them. Yeah! こっち入ってこれないよね。これさすがにここは入れないでしょ。よっしゃ。よっしゃ。Oh my gosh, so scary. Probably should have used it more. Yeah, I just don't really know how it works. Oh, I don't like this.
ショコ。こんなところに。
Shoko. I'm not using the focus feature at work, so it's pretty useless, I'd say. Me too. I also don't use enough focus at work. Good vibes. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you. And thank you for the hugs. Thank you. これは安産のお守りですよね。安産のお守りさっきのあれ、なんて言うんだろう。さっきの鳥が書いてあるやつですか？ Hey, now you're a track star. Get your games on. Go play. Is that a song? It sounds like a lyric, but I don't know the song. Hyper. I love this emo combo. Yeah, that's a really good emo combo. Very flashy. Very flashy. Okay, housemates know. February 15th. There can be no two ways about it. The family is indeed cursed, and I am the only one who knows the full story. I must tell the master all I know, for if I do not, the curse will certainly befall me as well. May the gods have mercy on me. 呪い？なんか呪いの話をしてるみたい。呪いがかかって、なんかでも、ひなこの家族にもなんか呪いがかかってるって最初の方に言ってたよね。で、一瞬思ったんだけどさ、一番最初のところでなんか、どっかの家の人がさ、話してて、なんか、家はなんか呪われてるみたいな。あれってなんかお姉さんがなんか、死んだんじゃないかなって思った。なんか誰かが死んだって言って、あそこの家族が呪われてるよね、みたいに言われてて、もしかしてお姉ちゃん死んじゃったのかなって一瞬思った。I thought maybe her sister is dead. Because in the very beginning, there was like a family that was talking about like, there was this lady in a house that was talking about like how somebody died and the family is cursed. I was like, does that mean, are they talking about my family? Maybe my sister is dead. I don't know. 冗談で言ったら安産ってそうなんです。冗談。It was a joke. That's okay. I'm very gullible. I fall for a lot of 冗談。Both were songs? Oh. I'm not cultured enough, it seems. A lot of Anzan Mamori in all the shrines. Yeah, I mean it's a popular omamori. Anzan no omamori ne. It is popular. Yeah, a lot of mothers or expectant mothers get Anzan omamori. I don't know this. Well, maybe I do know the song. I just need to hear it. Maybe just gotta hear it. There's a lot to look for here. All the secret arts, medicines succumb to us, spirit and flesh. That's it. That's just the title of the book I'm looking at. もうお化け出そう。お化け出そう。なんかないかな。ここにも紙置いてある。安産、交通安全が一番多い気がする。そうですね。安産、交通安全。あとなんだろう。恋愛とかのお守りもありますよね。私買ったことあるかも。恋愛のやつ。Gunther, thank you so much for the raid! Welcome in, raiders! Welcome! How was stream, Gunther? I saw you were hunting for shiny something? Shiny something in Borderlands 4? Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Hi, Gunther. Let me see if I can drop a quick shout out. Welcome, Raiders. My name is Fruitstep. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome, welcome. I'm playing some Silent Hill F. This is still my first playthrough, so no spoilers. No spoilers, please. Hope the new Silent Hill's been fun. It's been fun. It's been good. The plot thickens. The plot thickens. There's so much speculation. That's the fun thing about Silent Hill is like you can think about so much stuff. There's so much like symbolism and so much like hints and context clues and things like that that you can just ponder on as you play. But I hope Borderlands was good. I hope you got some good stuff today, Gunther. Did you get some good stuff in Borderlands?キティちゃんのもありますよ。キティちゃんのお守りかわいい。Yeah, Hello Kitty would be cute. Any pop style modern お守り。そう。キティちゃんのは持ってなかったけど、交通安全のは持ってました。車の中に置いてあります。やっぱり車社会なので毎日車運転するからね。安全に運転しないと。恋愛は全然ない。お守りない。本当？ I bought it. I bought a love good luck charm in Japan. I don't know where I found it though. Maybe I bought it for good luck with my love with Krauser. Maybe. I need to go grab some food real quick. Yeah, found some cool stuff. Nice. I got mac and cheese with chicken and bacon. Ooh, yummy. Yummy. Oh my gosh. Chicken and bacon. The supreme combination with mac and cheese. Well, I hope you enjoy your dinner, Gunther. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Background noise is awesome. Thank you, Junie. Just hearing me blabber on about random stuff and scream once in a while. It's a Shrek song? Really? Man, I need to go back and watch some Shrek movies. 恋愛あるけど異常に少ないはそうなんですか？じゃあなんでたまたま恋愛のお守りがあったってことかな？たまたまだっただけか。どこでもそっか。Okay. Family physician's log. February 1st. Symptoms at onset are as follows. Headache, fever, vertigo, chills, vomiting, diarrhea. Okay, Coffee, I'm testing you. What medicine do you need for those symptoms? At first, I believe science pointed to a seasonal cold. However, after prescribing medicine, symptoms did not improve. In fact, they worsened. なんか、いろいろ、紙なくなっちゃったけど、いろいろとなんか、頭痛とかめまいとか、症状が書いてあって、薬をあげたけど治らなかったって。呪いだね。Crimson spring gushing from the womb. Ugh. Deep within is the Shimizu family.
これうちのこと？
All these papers are about her family. Her family is cursed. Wait, does that mean those girls on that picture are her ancestors? さっきの壁に立てかけてあった女の人の絵ってさ、ご先祖様の絵なのかな？でも白いブラウスとスカートのあれ違うよね。ご先祖様ではなさそうだけど。誰だろうね、あれ。お姉ちゃんとかじゃないよね。No loot here, no nothing, no lore. I also realized I missed a lot of lore in the first section of this game. I didn't explore enough. Ritual is held. The Igarashi clan, last descendants. Igarashi clan? Who's that? Dr. House here. It's not lupus. Thank you, Hash. Thank you, Dr. House. Thank you. Not enough. The honorable blood. Fill it up. Make it full. Otherwise. Ugh. ここでもあるのが、学問、仕事、安産、交通安全、家族健康、金運くらいじゃないかな。あー、確かに。恋愛はなかった。たまたま自分が買ったやつが交通と恋愛だっただけか。I think you would need an exorcist. Yeah. You got it all of the above. So if they're like, you go to the doctor and you're like, so what symptoms do you have? Yes. 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 やっぱり恋なのか無理ですね。無理？コーヒーも探したらあれ、恋愛運のお守り。Sedating, antihistamine, or beta-histine, and anti-diarrhea, or tricyclic antidepressant. Are those for real? Are those like actually, or are you just listing drugs? If you actually listed it, I'm actually very impressed. I am actually impressed. The patient's conditions are declining suddenly and rapidly. Symptoms are as follows: labored breathing, cognitive impairment. Oh my gosh, there's more coffee. 症状はもっとあるよ。Labored breathing, cognitive impairment, quadriplegia. I don't know what that is. Involuntary movements. Oh my gosh, yeah, we need an exorcist. これもう薬で治る領域じゃないよ、もう。In addition to these, an even stranger symptom has arisen. The patient's facial features appear to be deforming. Thank you for the pennies, Ariel. Thank you. Uh-oh, this is beyond the field of medicine. Time to call an exorcist. The patient's faces remain stuck in expressions of constant strain, their teeth bared, their eyes narrowed into a menacing glare. Oh my gosh. 恋なんてしないなんて言わないよ絶対。なんか歌詞かななんか歌の歌詞っぽい。I can't wait until fruit gets to the end of the game. She will explode. I will spontaneously combust at the end of this game. Explode from what? I'm curious. But don't spoil it. Don't tell me. I'll get there eventually. 恋愛専門の神社とかがあるからそこに行くのです。そうですね。恋愛専門だったのかな、なんかどこだったかな、どこの神社で。なんかでも京都とかそっちの方だったような気がするんだけど忘れた。なんか恋愛運にいいなんか石みたいのがあったようななかったような岩っていうのか、もうちょっと石より大きいか。カップルだらけでストレスになるけど逆にストレスになるっていうね恋愛運のお守りを買いに行くと逆にストレスになるねPlegic is like paralysis. Oh, okay. So quadriplegia is like your arms and legs are paralyzed. Need to do a brain scan to see what's going on. Wow, coffee professional pharmacist. I am impressed. 見直したよ、コーヒー。さすがプロの薬剤師。Okay, I don't know where it came from. Okay, I already went this way, so it's this way. That's interesting though. So there's some kind of curse situation going on. It's like in Silent Hill 2 too. Wasn't there like in Silent Hill 2 like people were like starting to experience strange symptoms?
こっちだよ。
サクコなの？
My controller vibrated.
どこ？
今コントローラーがブブーってなってびっくりした慣れてない。いつもキーボードでしかゲームやらないから慣れてない。なんかもうちょっと書類ないかな。I gotta soak up all the good lore, all the good information. のりゆき牧原のりゆき、もう恋なんてしない。おー、いやもしかして聞いたことあるかもしれない。でも聞いてみないとちょっと思い出せないです後で聞いてみますあ、めっちゃ本が落ちて、今本を落としたってこと。 Research notes on Emmy Jugonrok. The wish to have one's romantic desires, okay, fulfilled is as old as humanity itself. Consequently, there have existed many arts by which people attempt to make such dreams come true. Like me and Krauser? Can we finally be together once and for all? One such method was to employ a sorcerer known as a jugonshi, to perform an incantation written in Emmi Jugonroku. After such spells were suspected of causing chaos and turmoil in the imperial court, their practice was expressly forbidden under the Yoro Code in the first year of the Tenpyo Hoji era. Oh my gosh, history. Okay. However, these incantations were later adopted into the practice of Onmyodo, where their effects continued to be studied. According to multiple sources, powerful romantic spells that have been successfully cast are often accompanied by the scent of sandalwood. I have a sandalwood candle in my house. Perfect. I just need to learn the incantation now. I gotta turn that candle on, learn the incantation, and then Krauser will fall madly in love with me. Perfect. Okay, so なんか恋愛関係のなんかの恋愛っていうか呪言師を使ってなんかやったら呪われたってこと？誰かご先祖様が？ Okay, another dried carcass. Greatly restores health. Greatly restores health. Uh-oh. Wait, I have so many toolkits. I don't need that much. もうそろそろお供え物しないともうスペースがない。Okay, I don't need red capsule. Feels like I'm about to enter a boss fight. Please, is there another save here somewhere? Back! ちょっと待って。Oh my gosh, she's fast too. 足速い。どっち行くの？こっち？またなんか挟まれそう。なんかもう一体どっかにいそう。あ、ほらほらほらほら。クズティ。いやー、行き止まり。あ、ちょっと待って。Uh-oh, she's coming this way. This is closed. Okay, Oh my gosh, she stabbed me so hard! Go away, go away, go away! Uh-oh. I don't want to go through all that again, please. Uh-oh. I just didn't get to a save. Where's the closest save? It's really far. It's all the way over there. I have to go through the library again. Okay. 恋なのか諦めた。もう諦めないで。これ日本ではめちゃくちゃ有名ですよ。知らない日本人はいないかと思います。多分聞けばわかると思う。でも歌のタイトルがよくわからない。The symptoms surprisingly line up with what I have when no stream. You become all of the above when I don't stream. スマップの世界に一つだけの花をのりゆきまきある。わかりました。わかった。はいはい、わかりました。思い出し。I remember now! 牧原のりゆき。はい。なんかね。There was one more... どんな時もとか書いた人ですか？ Japanese singer-songwriter. Yeah, I know. Yeah, now. I couldn't tell when it was written in ローマ字。はいはい、わかりました。ローマ字だと一瞬わからなかったけど、もう知ってます。okay. Yeah, he is very famous. That is true. I have forgotten, but now I remember. ちょっと待って、これ... Okay, I can't go this way. I have to go through the library again to get back to where I was. Okay. I guess I can go back this way. Ooh, squeeze through. Okay. Oh, hi, C. Welcome in. Hi, C. I see a cutie. I see a cutie. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a go. How was your surgery? Oh my gosh, I just remember. How was your surgery? I hope it went well. I hope you're recovering. I hope you feel better. Okay, go left. Never mind. I should not go left. Oh, shoot. Please. Please. I just need to save. Which way do I go? Do I go this way? There's a lot of them. Oh no. It's just over there too. What do I do? If I get hit one more time, I think I'll die. Watch it! I have no more energy. God, I'm sorry for screaming. I need to save. Let me save. 保存したいだけ。本当に。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。I need to blah blah blah. Oh gosh, I'm afraid this is gonna enter a boss fight if I go here. Okay, it's fine. Okay. Oh, 危ない。死にそうになった。Okay. 今活動停止ですね。覚醒剤で逮捕されたので、そうですよね。確かにそれ覚えてます。覚醒。I have more space! こんなにいっぱいあった。ちょっとずっとこんな4つばっかりやってたけど、こんなにいっぱいあった。Yeah. He got arrested for doing drugs. Yes. 覚えてます。It went well, but life still hates me. Now I get the pleasure of finding out my mom's cancer. Oh no, I'm sorry, C. Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that, C. I hope it can be treated. I hope it's like recoverable. Oh, I'm so sorry. Just one after the other. Oh no. Hopefully it's like treatable though. I will pray for your mother, C. It's a treatable one, but it's still hard for me. Okay. That's good. At least it's treatable, but yeah, it is hard. Especially watching someone you love or someone that's close to you suffer. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope she'll have a speedy recovery. Yeah. Please, I know, please, yeah. Okay, I got an item. What item did I get? What item did I get? Equipment. I keep forgetting. Ramune, yokan. So. Oh, yeah. I have to do osonai mono. I have to put this stuff here. I only know Yonizu Kenshi or some kanji resembling that. I think that's right. Yonizu Kenshi ね。Yonizu Kenshi さん有名だよね。でも最近だよね。でも米津玄師さんが有名になったのって。最近って言ってもでももう5年以上前か。5年ぐらい前か。I'll enshrine and then I'll pray. これ1個。これはmaybe I'll hold on to it. Okay. Because that should be enough faith to pray. Okay, let me see. Stamina is so good though, but I did health already. Sanity? I have never had trouble with sanity, so I'm gonna skip that one. Memory slot would be nice. どうしよう。どれがいいんだろう。Health. I think last time I did stamina? I didn't do health, right? Maybe I'll do health this time. Nice. Okay. で、保存。Save. I don't know what my family did, but God, someone has it out for us. Wow. it's just, yeah, and sometimes life just throws challenges at ya. But hopefully things start looking up in the future after all the challenges have been overcome. I believe, see, I believe. Okay, so I still haven't got all the items I need. Find where the voice is coming from. Oh shoot, I already went this way though, and there was nothing there? Maybe I have to go down there. 私、下の方にまだ行ってないところがある。あそこに行かなきゃいけないのか。Hi, Cass. Welcome in. Have you encountered the Ikemen yet? Oh, yes, I have. Ikemen Fox? Yeah. I have. This is the second part. I did the first part already, and then this is the second part. The second time you meet him, I suppose. Hi, how are you, Cass? Hope you're doing well. I hope you and Kimi are doing well. Oh, yeah, you're on vacation, right? I hope your little vacation's going well. Okay, I have to go down there. あっち戻んのか。で、ね、ここの本があるところ通り抜けて、右に曲がって、左に曲がって、って感じか。右、左。ちょっと待って。How's my health? Oops. Oh yeah, I just did that, so I'm good now. You got this for use your Silent Hill skills? My Silent Hill Pyramid Head Dorito Daddy skills? Yes. どうやって行くんだっけ？左から行った方が早いのか。左から行って、まっすぐ行って、なるほどね。OK。じゃないよね。こっちは違うよね。I don't want that. Okay, I'm just gonna have to finesse this, I think. Okay, going. Ouch, you still hit me! It's going very well. Kimi and I are at a spooky theme park. Ooh, fine. It's so good too. It's Halloween season, huh? Did you get spooked? Any good jump scares? Any good spooks? Did you dress up for the spooky theme park? Okay. This way. 本がいっぱいあって、これもないよね、読む。薬があるけど、薬どうしようかな。とりあえず取っとくか。これ部屋に入ってくることないよね。部屋に入ってくること。で、右に曲がんなきゃいけないのか。OK。Okay, I'm going. イエーイ！走れー！次どこだ？ちょっと待って。左折して。ちょっと待って、足速い。ちょっと待って。で、右？ Gosh, you guys. I already came this way. Oh, man. I can't go that way either. What? 声がどこから来てるか、もうちょっとこっちから来てたのかな、もしかして。Maybe the voice was coming from all the way over here and I just didn't notice. こっちって言われてこっち来て、声がどこから来てるのかわかんない。やばい、戻んないと。で、壁だし。うわあ。別に死んでもいいか、でもさっきのところに戻ればいいだけだし。スタミナ。でもこっちにもなんかあんのかな？こっち？ Is this the room? No, this is a new room. Okay. What is this? Pray. Oh, another way to... Okay. I'll just save again. なんでここから抜けられるってこと？ん？ でもここ入った意味ないよね、全然。羊羹。羊羹。何のためだ？あ、これもいらないか。The little fruit that could. That could what? That could. Ooh, what is this? Is there any loot? Is this just the loot room? Okay. Really? It feels like this is an important room. Where the voice is coming from. 何のためにここにセーブがあるんだろう。I could be misremembering, but did you put something in the other fox's mouth? Twiddle's fingers? No. No, I didn't put anything in there. I don't have an item for it yet. Twiddle's fingers. キツネの口に何か入れなきゃいけないんだけど、まだそのアイテムを見つけてないから何も入れられない。でも声ってこの中からってことか。Maybe the voice is coming from in here, in there. So I just gotta put the item in the mouth. In the mouth. 口の中に入れればあっちに行けるのかな。でもないよね。もう一回見てみるか。もしこっちが、ちょっと待って。今こっちにいて、ここから抜けられるのか、反対側に。そういうことね。Divine Water. Okay, I guess I'll get it. こっちに行くと。ここがさっき塞がれてて行けなかったとこか。
こっちに来て。早く早く。
Hi, Blue Jay!
そっちにいるの？
Do I even want to know who is hot? Well, you might see soon if you stick around, Blue Jay. There might be a boss fight though. He might appear after the boss fight. Or maybe he'll never appear. But welcome in, Blue Jay. I hope you're doing well. How are you? どれ？これ？それ？あれ？ここか、サクコ。なんかハンターハンターのゾルディック家の家のドアみたい。It reminds me of the door from... Do you know that heavy door in Hunter x Hunter? That the Zoldyck family lives and their door is like insanely heavy? Anybody watch Hunter x Hunter? Okay, これがさっき見えてた部屋かな？遠くから。違うか？似たような部屋がいっぱいある。なんだこれ。Stone Orb! なんか美味しそう。なんか美味しそうな色してる。なんか、よもぎみたいな。It seems to be made from the same material as the stone key that Fox Mask has given to me. Maybe it serves a similar purpose. Okay, put this in the mouth. これを口に入れるのかな？This tire slip not good? Oh no. Yeah. Please relax. Relax to my relaxing screaming as I do this boss fight. Wow! Oh no! 気持ち悪い。怖い。Oh my gosh! No! なんか日本人形みたいなやつ怖い。どうすんの？走るってどこ？キツネのお兄さん助けて。本当にキツネのお兄さんさ、全然ためにならないんだけど、何もしてくれない。ちょっと肝心な時に出てきてくれない。
早くひなこ。
うわ、めっちゃいる。うわ、怖っ。どこ行くの？あっちのドアの方に行けばいいのか。扉の方。ちょっと待って。I got raided! Oh my gosh, Papa! Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pause for the raid. It's a Papa raid! Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the raid, Papa. Welcome in! My timing. Your timing is it's perfect, Papa. You saved me from having a heart attack. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome in, Papa. Welcome in. My name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Welcome in, everyone. How was stream? Thank you so much. We got a fellow fruit moot raid. Welcome. Hello, Rex. Hello, Baba. Hello, Moody. Hello. Welcome in. Let me drop a quick shout out. Bubba is another fellow
Yo, what up,
fruit mood.
fruit?
Oh, thank you for the 5 months, Wolf. Welcome in. What's up, everything's good. I'm just screaming, running for my life. I hope you had a good week, Wolf. Thank you. Just chatting. Oh, okay, that was fine. What were you chatting about? I was playing some Little Nightmare 3, but couldn't finish it tonight. Ah, okay. How's Little Nightmare 3, by the way? That's the new one, right? I think I dropped by actually earlier. I saw you in, I think, Skelemans was playing the game. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the game. Little Nightmares is... I've never played it, but it's cute. I like it. I watched somebody play the first one, and it was quite good. Quite good. I hope the third one is just as good. Let's just say I'm glad this week is over. Me too, Wolf. Me too. Me too. I'm so ready to sleep in and eat lots and sleep and eat this weekend. It's so good. I was super into the other games, so I was theorizing a ton. Oh yeah, that would be so fun. Are they all like somewhat connected, or is there like Easter eggs from like old games? I love it when they like tie it into like older games. That sounds fun. Yeah, everybody make sure you drop Bubba a follow. Bubba is a fellow fruit boon and is also friends with Strawby and all the other cool peeps. So yeah, make sure you drop a follow. Thank you so much for the raid. I need to watch the game. Yeah, I don't know if I'll play it, but I'm down to watch it. It sounds fun. I enjoy the cute little... The protagonists are always so cute. They are definitely referencing the older games, which I love. Ooh, yeah, I love that too. I love games that do that, and then like you get to ponder about it afterwards. That's kind of what like Silent Hill does too. I haven't noticed any references in this game though, but they do tend to put little Easter eggs and references in there, which is fun. Yeah, thank you so much, Bubba. If you need to go raid or run and go rest, please do so. I hope you get lots of rest. I hope you drink water and eat a yummy dinner if you haven't already. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's all get silly. Same. Let's all get silly. When's a better time to get silly than now? Yeah, I'm sorry, Wolf. I hope you get some good rest this weekend. You deserve it. The lore, the plot, it thickens. There's a lot of refs to Silent Hill 1 in here? Okay, that's probably why I'm not getting it, because I didn't play Silent Hill 1. Can't wait for the 1 remake. Yeah, I only know Silent Hill 2, which is probably why I don't see anything, but I'll have to watch like one of those like YouTubers who like talk about like all the lore and stuff in Silent Hill F. I will have to watch it after. Average fruit stream is just silly. It's just silly and it's just me screaming and saying some bad Japanese. I have yet to play 1 either. Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe if they're coming out with 1 remake, I'll play the original one. Or if I can. I don't even know if I can, but I'll try. Alright. Oh my gosh, I have to get back to being chased. I need to get to the door. It's just like the first time. 最初もなんかさ、こうやってなんか追いかけ回されたよね。違う化け物に。またじゃん。しかも狐のお兄さんいつも肝心な時にもう助けに来てくれないっていう、もう本当にもう使えないっていうか本当に使えないねえYou lost a couple times? Yeah, Silent Hill, there's a lot of games. I should probably try to play the other ones too. It's the stages over there! Ah, shoot, I already messed up. Ah, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. What? 間違えた、道間違えた。でもこっちから行けなくなってる。うわ、やった、うわ、やだ。ちょっと待って。Oh shoot, this guy's here too. Stop. Don't scream. If you scream, I'm gonna get out. Hey, wait! Every route is like blocked all of a sudden. Ah! Chatta! There's so much going on! Wait, there's... All the roads are blocked! They're all blocked! What? ね、全部道塞がってるんだけど。I'm sorry for this screaming. Oh my gosh. Gonna play 3 next week. Okay, fine. Let me know how 3 is. I'll have to check it out. What she's saying, but it sure is cute. Thank you, Blue Jay. I was saying how useless the fox guy is because he never comes to save me when I need to be saved. I'm not ashamed to admit right now I'm a damsel in distress. Please help. This part had me stressing. Yeah, this is hard. There's a lot going on. なんかいろんなことが同時に起きてて、もうなんかわけわからないんだけど。They're all ganging up on ya. I know. The gang is here. Screaming is good. Thank you, Blue Jay. Oh my gosh. ねえ、道が全部塞がってるっていうね。ちょっと待って、一回地図確認する。Okay, I have to go through that room? この部屋を通らなきゃいけないのか。通ってぐるーって回って、またここの図書館じゃないけど、書類がある部屋通って、ここまで行かなきゃいけないの。めんどくさい。で、出て、右。行き止まりまで行って、左。右ちょっと待って右あれ右も間違えたかな道間違えたかもあでもこっちでいいのかWomen! They closed the door on me! ドア閉められたこっちから行けるってことかな The content I go to work for If you just wanna hear me screaming, I better have to pass by this person. Get out of the way! Get out! Get out of the way! I need more stamina! Give me more stamina! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out! Oh gosh, I did this last time too. なんで全部塞がってんのなんで全部左行って右行けってこと戻るねえもうちょっとさ There's so much recoil when you dodge I'm out of stamina I'm out of stamina これさこれOh my gosh I'm so close but ダメだI can't ride I'm out of stamina ちょっと待ってSo this is the right way. I don't want to die here, please. I don't think I'll die though. I think I'll be fine. Yeah! I hate that they do that to slow you down. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you, Hashi. めっちゃストレス。めっちゃ怖かった。The dash coming in clutch. I know. I hate how they slow you down. ねえ、もうそろそろさ。もう帰りたい。帰りたい。I wanna go home. Okay, next is boss fight. I think 次がボスだね、これね。これなんか入ってるなんかめっちゃアイテム落ちてる。Okay. I need to check on my phone. I dropped in water earlier. Oh no! Oh no, I hope your phone is okay, Wolf. I hope it's okay. Oh gosh. I hope it's not the toilet. I hope you didn't drop it in the toilet. I should really look into the lore of this game. Yeah, I'm excited to look into it like after I finish. I don't want to spoil it. Okay. じゃあちょっとね、今一回休憩します。今、広告の時間っていうのかな 一回休憩します。3分休憩。Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I am back. Okay, we gotta do boss fight now. It's boss fight time. Why am I so lopsided? Today I gotta adjust the mic. It's kind of... Is it... Good, okay, that's good. Don't die, didn't die coughing. Don't die coughing. A creature. Little creature. Hi, Squiddy. Thank you. Well, ad break, I kind of picked up some items. There was one called like a mirror. The mirror apparently takes like damage for you for one time, and then it'll restore like all your health and your sanity or something. But I don't know how to use it. It's not in here. It's not in here, so I don't know how I would use it. I didn't know you can do this. That's kind of convenient. Okay. That's important. Fruit is the goat. No, you're the goat. You're the real goat, Hashi. It's not a collectible. Capsule case. A box for over-the-counter... 風邪薬。家庭常備薬。常備薬っていうのか? Sakuko's mailbox. The surname Igarashi is written on the attached tag. I haven't used the mailbox key yet. Okay. I'm trying to find the mirror. お守りなのかな? お守りなのか? これを使ってみれば1回しか使えないみたい. I think you can only use this once. Once it breaks, you can't use it. Greatly decreases focus. Yeah, okay. My health is kind of low. どうしようかな。羊羹にするか。もう一個に。羊羹にしようか。羊羹食べよう。Okay. I think that's good. And then there's divine water, but I never use divine water. I should just give it up. I never use it. I should just enshrine it. Now, do you ever use this? Did anybody ever use divine water other than for offering? Because this max sanity reduces sanity damage taken. This is good for like hard mode, right? But since I'm story mode, it's really not worth it. The hard mode, 難関っていうの難関じゃないか言い方わかんないけど難しい方のあれを選ぶとこれは結構使えると思うんだけどでも難しい方の設定を選んでないからいらないよねこれ。Yeah, I don't think I need this. Useless. 380. ラムネもいらないかな。ね、いらないよね。ラムネも使ってないし。I never used ラムネ a single time. I'm gonna give it up. I'm almost... I don't have an Emma though, so I can't do any more praying. まあ、エマがないから、もう一個のあれができないんだよね。あられはでも、あられはでも使うかな。羊羹も使う。Okay. I gave everything up. Wait, I can enshrine this too now that I have it. よし、これであと10あれば何かアップグレードができる。ボスファイト。ボスタイム。聖水、そっか、聖水ありがとう、そうだね。なんて言うんだっけって、なんか言われれば、そうだってなるんだけど、自分じゃ思いつかないんだよね。聖水。Is there holy salt in the game? I'm not sure. I've not encountered holy salt. まだ塩はちょっと、あるかわかんない。聖水はあるけど、塩はちょっと。I have two weapons now. I have this one. I guess I gotta use this to fight the monster. Or Sakuko, I guess. I gotta fight all my demons. Ooh. 怖い。綺麗だけど怖そう。あれ、サクコだよね、あれ。サクコらしき。誰かが。What's that? 何それ? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, she's got a little mold growth going on. That's like me after a week of not showering. Ooh. Ah! 鍵? 鍵穴みたいな形して。いやいやいや。うー。オッケーオッケー。裏切り者じゃないよ。ちょっと待って。さあ、ここ。めちゃめちゃディーベン。ほら。裏切り者じゃないよ。ちょっと待って。It's like Elden Ring. Is that what? ちょっと待って。難しい。うわ危ね。うわこれどうやって戦うの？遠すぎる策とちょっと。I have no energy. I have stamina. うわ危ね。もうエネルギーがないよ。違う。これ。OK。Oh gosh. Yes, I locked on this time. Yeah, どうやって戦うの? Am I supposed to fight her? I'm supposed to fight her, right? There's no like trick to this. I have to just fight her until she dies. 危ねえ。嘘つきじゃないよ。嘘ついてないもん。Oh my gosh, the stamina is like... うわ遠すぎた。I keep mistaking theもうthis is so hard. Oh my gosh, her weapon is so long range. 思った以上に届く武器が自分の武器が届かない。どうしよう。I'm dodging, but it doesn't register the dodge. Yeah. Ew. なんでこっちの武器になったの？ちょっと待って。Why did you change my weapon against my will? ねえ。Trick is to hit after she attacks, but I gotta do a perfect dodge in order to do that. Ooh. I don't know how to parry her attacks. Ooh. It doesn't reach. No, I don't want kissies. Please don't kiss me. Yeah. うわもう怖いよ。ちょっと待って。I can't even heal. I actually might die here. Welcome back, Wolf. I don't know the trick. I'm trying to charge like a big attack on her, but it's so hard, guys. What's the trick? French kissing the hobies. I know. 難しいよ。I can't see her health either, so it's hard. もうあとどれくらいやればいいのか。I hit her, but it wasn't good enough. I don't have enough stamina. 危な。どうしよう。難しいよ。嘘つきじゃない。Wait, what do I do? I'm so confused. I need to lock on. 難しい。Is this the second phase? 見えない。
サクコ、お願いだからやめて。
I want to know why Sakuko is so upset. Is she upset because I left her there to die? どうすんの？どこ咲く子？どこ？見えないくらい。どこ？こっちに行けってこと？うわ！どうすんのこれ？ How do you even avoid that? どうやって避ければいいのこれ？どういうこと？ I dodged, but it still got me! Is it one besides managing with stamina and being patient with attacks? Oh my gosh, girl, what the heck? Girl! I don't have any more healing weapons. I don't know where the attacks are gonna land. But how do I avoid those attacks? I can't avoid them? I'm doomed. I'm gonna die right here. The blessed mirror. Oh shoot, I should have saved it. I need to get closer. The wrong weapon again. Yeah, 難しい。やばいやばいやばいやばいやばいやばいやばいやばい。I still... I don't know how to avoid that. I don't think there's a way to avoid that. I don't know. I can't. I need to lock on. It keeps unlocking itself, so I can't get to her. I can't avoid this. Oh, I can stop her. Oh, okay. I can't block because I'm not managing my stamina good enough. I'm out of stamina again. Okay. At least I know I can stop her. Come on, stamina, come back! I'm so sorry, I'm like so focused I can't even read anything right now. 集中してるからチャットが読めない。行かない。Where'd she go? いい加減にしろ。お前はそうじゃない。What is going on? Where'd she go? She teleported. She teleported. Stop her from doing that. I click it too much. I click way too much. I need to stop after like 2 clicks. Yes! Oh my gosh! やった。これでもう終わりだよね。終わりだよね。終わりじゃないの？来た、キツネのお兄さん。Foxman! Oh no! これしき大した。急に律令のごとく行う。やっぱかっこいいわ。かっこいい。So hot. の分際でここへ踏み入ろうと愚かな。今のは君についてきた汚れだろう。もう失せた。安心していい。He's hot. 属性に生きる以上、汚れがつくことは仕方がない。払えばいいだけのことだ。行こう。He's hot. Banished. banished to Narnia. Gone. やっぱかっこいいわ。狐は騙される、狐に騙されるっていうのは知ってるけど、でもやっぱかっこいいわ。
この先は神聖な領域だ。私も君も汚れは持ち込めない。ここで汚れを落とす。
That was intense. Clutch. That was clutch again. I didn't die, surprisingly. Used up all my items, though. Thank you, Hashi. Thank you. I need to listen to that voice acting again. I missed it because I was like too much adrenaline. さっきのシーンもう一回後で見直そう。めっちゃかっこよかったからもう10回ぐらい見る。Who doesn't love a guy with black nail polish, guys? He's a waterbender. 水で清める。I did this before.
さあ、君も。
はい。
Oh, that's not water. Uh-oh, not again.
いや。
大丈夫。ただの水だよ。
嘘だ。That's lava. That's lava in there. Oh, now it's water. Oh gosh. This is their first roll ever? That's crazy. They're doing really good. I'm sweating balls. Balls. Oh gosh, it's lava again. The floor is lava. Ah. I burned myself. Hot tea. Don't trust the fox mask. Cleansed. Wash thoroughly before eating. I got an achievement. I'm back again.
ドジだね。あんた階段から落ちたんだよ。
Bitch! You pushed me down the stairs!
腕どうした？
突き飛ばしたんでしょうが。
引っ掛けて破いちゃったのかな。
特にあざはないみたいだな。痛むところはないか？
うん、大丈夫。それはよかった。
Somebody throw her in the magma. Somebody throw her in the lava. She pushed me down the stairs, by the way. Somebody, I vote for ejecting her from this spaceship. She's sus.
行こう。時間を無駄にした。
よし。
How did I die from that?
行こう。
私をちゃんと守ってよ。私、ひなこみたいに強くないんだから。
分かってる。
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you in the dust.
離れるな。
Yeah, we're gonna leave you in the dust.
目指すは俺の家だ。裏道から山を越え県道に出よう。俺が先頭を行く。相棒はしんがりを。
分かった。
私はシュウ君の後ろにいるね。真ん中なら安心だし。
I know everybody said they hate this girl, but there's like apparently like some kind of story to her. So we will find out what is up with this girl.
しんがりは引き受けた。
Hopefully we can elbow her at some point. Yeah, me too. Hopefully we can elbow her off a cliff at some point. Yeah, how dare she? How dare she? She's so mean. I know she likes Shu. So she sees Hinako as a rival. ね。めっちゃ失礼だね。もう最悪だよ、本当に。最悪だよ。I've seen this get some hate on Twitter and then I watch it and I'm like, how? Yeah, it is a really pretty game. Some people, there's been a couple of people who don't like this game for a couple of different reasons, but I like it. I think it's a good game. When do I get to marry the fox guy? キツネのお兄さんと結婚する? It says they're best friends? Does it say? I didn't even read it yet. Although we're the best of friends now, we've had 2 or 3 huge... Really? Oh gosh. You're not friends. Fake friend alert. 親友じゃないよね、リンコ。リンコめっちゃ意地悪じゃん。Oh, trust her judgment. Thank you, Squiddy. I miss anything earlier? いい加減にしろ. The voice acting's nice. Getting greedy with your stacks. Nothing wrong with locking in. Thank you. ボコボコにされたじゃん。そう、ボコボコにされたけどね、なんとか生き残ったよ、最後。If the attacker... Yeah, stopping that. Thank you, Hashi. Yeah. Clunky Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring's smoother. Plus your FOV is way bigger in Elden Ring, I think. This one is so hard. This FOV is so small. なんかあんまりよく見えないよね。なんかこう。視野が狭いっていうのかわかんないけど、でも見えないのが怖い。French kissing the homies. Yep. You get a new phone, Wolf? Your old phone, did it completely break? The range, yeah, I thought the range would be longer. What's the point of getting such a long weapon if the range isn't even good? あんなに武器長かったのに全然もう届かなかった。あれは、やっぱり、何のため何のための武器 Have you gone a week without showering? ご想像にお任せします。She's scary, but I like the design. I like these scary, freaky designs. The monster was pretty cool. Fake friend, fake gamers. 90% people are just miserable and hate gaming as a whole. I feel like some people always find some reason to hate something or someone, you know? It's just... I don't know. It feels like... I don't know about before, but we are surrounded in like hate culture, cancel culture, and people just want to... They just like want to find reasons to hate things, you know? Gonna conk out. Okay, good night, Blue Jay. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you. I have no idea of what the drama is all about. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. There's a lot of drama. If you're scared and need a reason to stall, I've completed that letter for you. Oh, thank you, Squiddy. I'm not scared. I'm more tired than scared. So far, the game isn't terribly scary, especially after playing Cry of Fear. なんか怖さで言うとそんなにサイレントヒルって怖くはない気がする。怖くはないけどめっちゃ疲れる。Audio's messed up unless I used headphones, but at this point it's been 6 years since I got a new phone, so I think it's time. Ah, okay. Yeah, 6 years is a long time. It's time for a new phone. 6年間も同じ携帯使ってたんだったらね、もうそろそろ新しい携帯買う時期だよね。大変申し訳ございません。You are the drama? Only drama coffee wants is to be stepped on. The stepping kind. That's the only drama he wants. Silent Hill's always been more psychological with its spooks. Yeah. Definitely psychological. But in terms of psychological horror, I think Cry of Fear still is the scariest one. そうそう。心理なんとかホラーだよね。サイレントヒルって。もう一個Cry of Fearっていうゲームがあるんだけど、そっちの方が怖い。Over now, I'm eager to hear if you think my handwriting is worth anything. Okay, let me know when you send it over. When you've sent it. Cry fear of representing. Yeah, that is probably the scariest psychological horror. Freaky scenes in this one? Oh, I gotta get to those scenes then. Rinko is earnest and works really hard, but she also tends to get a little too caught up in her own ways of seeing things. Once she's come to a conclusion in her head, it can be like pulling teeth to convince her otherwise. Although we're the best of friends now, we've had 2 or 3 huge fights in the past that ended with us not speaking to each other for weeks. Girl, she pushed you off the stairs. She should be your greatest enemy, not the best of friends. 階段突き飛ばした人、友人とは呼びたくないです。はい。I'm sure we'll end up fighting again in the future, but even if we do, I know we'll be able to make up again. 本当？仲直りできる？もう絶対もう許さないよ。階段突き飛ばしたら。Sakuko, new entry. Sakuko is very in touch with her spiritual side. She seems to always have some god or apparition visiting her dreams, telling her about this or that. According to Sakuko, there's been quite the supernatural disturbance around Ebisugaoka. Something about an ancient god who's furious about having their followers stolen from them. Now they're out for revenge. Ooh. Is it because everyone's following the flocks? So the other god is very angry? なんか神様が二人っていうのいるらしいね。恵比寿ヶ丘には。多分、狐の神様ともう一人、別の何かがいるらしいです。The kitty's crying outside. I was shopping for a bit. Welcome back. お帰りなさい。Eat crepe ice cream. クレープアイス美味しそう。私も食べたい。クレープアイスか。いいな。I also love that we haven't even got to the worst parts. What do you mean we haven't gone to the worst parts? Wait, I have no weapons now? Where's my weapons? Where's my pipes? My cat is crying outside. 外で猫が泣いてる。どこ行くの？こっちでいいのかな？ I want one of those Samsung flip phones, but I can't because VTubing. True. I need to get a separate phone for VTubing though, because I'm killing the battery life on my current phone by using it as a face tracker. I've only had it for 2 years. My battery life is like 83%, or battery health. Sorry. That's why I'm like thinking about getting a different phone for face tracking. It's like sucking out the energy from my phone. 配信するときにいつも 自分の iPhone 使ってるんだけど、ずっと配信中つけっぱなしだから、もうバッテリーの寿命っていうのかな、バッテリーの寿命がもうやばいことになってる。もう全然持たないバッテリーが。なんか別の携帯買おうかなって思ってる。配信用の携帯ね。もったいないよ。せっかく買ったばっかりなのに。Send it over. Oh, thank you. I think that's just Old Bay meow. That's just Old Bay. Yeah, that's just Old Bay meowing in the basement, guys. Don't worry about it. Old Bay's just hungry. He's been working. I've been overworking him, I guess. He just wants some extra little morsels of food. Okay. Or maybe it's coffee. Maybe coffee is being a cat boy. Meowing outside my door. どこ行くの？ Head to Shu's house. シュの家ってどこ？シュの家ってどこだ？よく絵とか描いてわかりやすくなってるけどわかんない。シュの家。もっとこう端っこの方？もしかしてずーっと本当だ。やっぱ端っこだった。It's all the way on the edge. Oh man. I don't even have a weapon. 武器もない。全部なくなった。こっちはいけないでしょ？ I'm ruining my phone too. Yeah, this is so bad. But I'm too lazy to look for another phone too. Your fists are your weapons, true. I mean, Hinako's really strong, I can tell. Her fists are probably like harder than titanium. iOS 26 is so bad with battery. My battery is 2 times worse. Really? Does the iOS version matter? They introduced the multiple camera. I feel like iOS 26 would kill my phone. Ugh. I thought iPhone used to be so good about battery life. iPhone ってそのバッテリーの持ちがいいって聞いたんだけど、でも最近あんまり良くないよね。I have the 16 Pro Max and it's awful. Ugh. I have the 14 Pro Max. It's still it's dying slowly. It's so sad. New one drains your battery a lot? Oh man. Each update gets worse. Maybe it's time to switch to Android. But the thing is, Android doesn't have good face tracking.
大丈夫か相棒化け物につけられてないか
問題ない。シュウ君っていつまでひな子のこと相棒って呼ぶの？相棒なんて呼び方小学生の男子みたい。
相棒は相棒さ。俺は相棒を女扱いしてない。
そうだな。
モテないでしょ、リンコ。
立ち話は終わりだ。
リンコモテないよね、絶対。これなんかすごく嫌な、こうね、余計な一言っていうか、絶対モテなさそう。なんかモテると思ってる。本人は思ってるけど、絶対モテない。うん。なんならひなこの方がモテる。Any more items? ね。もうアイテムがない。どこにもしょうがない。No VTube Studio. I don't use VTube Studio, but I use something called iFacial mocap or something. I don't remember, but it's like a iOS application for face tracking. I mean, if someday Android gets as good, you know, if the camera gets as good, I will gladly switch to Android. Because I was Android for my whole life. I switched to iPhone for the first time 2 years ago. Ah, nice. Pipe. Yeah. But, yeah, it's just for the track. Accidentally reply. I always have a slight annoyance with the NPCs in horror games because they always seem to have it easy unless they're killed as a part of the plot. True. I'm going through all this stuff in the other world with the fox, and these guys are just like, have it easy, you know? I'll shut up if you want. No, you don't need to shut up. That's fine. What? We're talking about important things. VTubing tips and tricks. Micro batteries, so you have to buy new phone more often. Is that the tactic? Man, Apple's playing dirty. そういう作戦なの？バッテリーの寿命を短くすればもっと頻繁に新しい携帯を買うからってこと？どっち行くんだ？こっちから行けるのかな？でもこの上になんかさ、串みたいになったよね。串取りに行こう。There was like a comb up here. I didn't get it last time. I didn't have space. I should have space now. Fucking a wolf because I accidentally replied to a message. Ah, no. Okay. At least we are regulating our temperature by having only one sleep. It's like when you're sleeping at night and you have a blanket over you, but you just it's like too hot, so you stick one leg out. And it's just right. If you stick both legs out, it's too cold, but you just stick one leg out and it's perfect. そう、時々寝てるときさ、なんか暑いからさ、毛布の下からそう足一本出したりするじゃん。でも2本出すと寒いんだよ。1本がちょうどいいんだよ。そんな感じ？今ひなこ腕一本一個腕一本っていうの？袖がついててもう一個はついてない。あったタクシー。よし。Okay, now I can put this and shrine this later. Best friend of the main character. Yes. There's a reason why you can't just replace the battery on your own for iPhone. Yeah, it costs money to replace it. You gotta take it... I mean, I'm assuming. Can you take it to like a shop and replace it? But it's like really expensive. It's a couple $100s. Exactly what you were thinking. Nice. Great minds think alike. I do that when you sleep. Ayy. See, all the pros do that. All those temperature regulation pros. Or flip the pillow. Get the cold side of your pillow ね。枕の冷たい方をね。ね、しばらく寝てると枕があったかくなってくるからさ、枕ひっくり返して冷たい方にまた頭乗せるんだよね。I get that. The cold side of the pillow. I'm looking for items. うわ、また敵いる。あ、OK, they're right there. こっちになんか祠があった気がする。もうちょっと先か。
先生いますか？
先生？あ、話せるんだ。なんてこれ、縦に読むのか。内科、外科、小児科皮膚科 They do everything. It's an all-inclusive doctor. They can do everything.
相棒、妙な化け物が増えてる気がしないか？
お前の宇宙戦争だって妙な宇宙人がどんどん増えてっただろうが。
ひなこってしゅうくんと話すときは男の子みたいな喋り方だよね。
昔の癖が今も抜けないからかな。
俺たちは幼い頃からの付き合いだからな。
だから男女の関係にはならなかったってわけ。
今はそんな話をしてる時じゃないぞ。行こ
う。Yeah, girl. That's what we're talking about right now. We gotta kill some monsters. Stop talking about random stuff. ただ嫉妬してるだけじゃん。なんでそんな仲いいのみたいな。私も仲良くなりたいみたいな。もうちょっと素直になった方が可愛いと思うけどな。She's so mean. She's so passive aggressive. Passive aggressive Rinko. 300. I have nothing. I just have arare and I have nothing else now. You made it kind of hard for repair shops to repair, so they encourage you to go in Apple Store and fix it. And take extra money because it's the Apple Store. Dang. Really good job with the monsters in the game. They're fantastically freaky. Yeah, they're like freaky, but they're very pretty. There's still some beauty in it. This Dinko girl, I'm hating her more and more. I know. She's just like jealous, man. She's just so jealous. And she can't be like honest, you know? She has to just be passive aggressive. What does that do again? このアイテム何すんだっけ? ここじゃない. Maybe it's just the offering? Maybe I should go offer it. Dinko is the disturber of sorts, yeah. I don't know what she hopes to achieve doing that. Stamina and prevent stamina consumption for a set period. It can also be used as an offering. Stamina is such a big problem in this game. It's so hard to manage it. Maybe I'll hold on to it a little longer. I'm like saving it for another Emma. Maybe if I have 800, I can do more stamina. So I think I'll do that. Get 800 and find that Emma. Jealous of you, Fruit. You'll always be better than her. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh no, the screen's broken again! Aw, man. Okay, let me go save so I can fix the screen. Is it doing it? I don't know. Let me save. I need to patch this problem with the screen. もう一回ここで。Would you be more upset if Rinko stole Shu or Mr. Inari? Mr. Inari. She can have Shu. I don't care about Shu. Just don't take my handsome fox, man, and we're all good. Mr. Inari is mine. やっぱダメだ、画面が。その時による？ It like depends. Catch up with Shu and Dinko while trying not to die. Okay. They're just in here. Oh my gosh, there's so many. How do I get in there? Can I even get in there? I was here earlier. I don't think there's a way around. Ooh, 危ねえ。こっちか。待っている。危ねえ。もうない。スタミナがない。こっち、どっちに行けばいいの？こっちでいいのか？ん？道がちょっとわかんない。I don't know which way to go. Feels like you're supposed to go up this way. There's like a path like right here. Am I going the wrong way? Was there a way around it? No, there's no way around it. どうやって行こう？ここ全部塞がれてるし、ここから通るのかな？こっちでいいの？ If I go this way, it'll be another dead end, right? 大丈夫か？周囲痛い痛い痛い。I think maybe the new NVIDIA drivers might fix it? Well, maybe, like, update my NVIDIA drivers? Banishment thing he did is honestly one of the coolest things I've seen. I know! He's overpowered! Overpowered king! Yes! Overpowered king with black fingernails. Black nail polish. でも塞がれてないってこと？東。なるほど。こっちは塞がれてるけど、こっちは行けるのか。またリンクいる。何やってんの？何やってんの？I wonder if they all see the same monster. I guess they all see the same monster? Whoa! This guy again! またこいつだ。あの時仕留められなかったから。仕留めなかったから。
何あれ？やだ。気持ち悪い。
あいつらまさか気持ち悪いので街を飲み込む気なのか。
化け物が多すぎる。
迂回しよう。街を突っ切るのは危険すぎる。
私たちの千鶴や、どうしてこんな。
中学校の方へ向かってそこから山道を登ろう。だいぶ遠回りになるが街は避けられる。よし、行こう。
Watch Rinko push me out into the alleyway. Here! Use her as a distraction as we run! I would not be surprised if she did that. I don't trust her at all anymore. Okay, there's a few entries now. Okay. Space Wars wasn't just about fighting evil and laser guns though. We pretend to analyze the enemy by drawing alien sketches. During PE, we say that the class was a training camp for Space Army. I think we play with dolls too, right? I think that's when we were training in first aid in order to assist the injured. That, you know what? That sounds like a lot of fun. I want to play with them. That sounds very fun. It brings back memories as a kid and you get all creative and do creative stuff. Memories of getting lost. Is this new? There was one time where I played hide and seek with a bunch of my friends when I was young. I got so excited and ran far away because I didn't want anyone to find me and eventually got lost around here. I was sobbing and hollering and walked the wrong way for hours actually. I was told later that it was the exact opposite direction of my house. Even a town as small as this felt huge for me as a kid. I realized that I knew nothing about the town. Even these fields seemed to spread out endlessly into the horizon. I walk this path every time I go to Rinko's, but to be honest, to this day I'm still scared that I might get lost. I mean, I've been told that I should probably just ask an adult for directions if I get lost. But then I remember that one time when I walked on the footpath with the rice fields for fun and got smacked by an old farmer all of a sudden. What? Abuse. The trauma from that experience made me scared of adults, back then and even to this day. The farmer smacked the child. Call Ope. Call the popos. This is blasphemous. You don't hit a child. I know back then it was kind of normal to do that though. That's how you disciplined the children back in the 60s. The drawing is so cute. Look at the little girl. Look at little Hinako. I guess this was from the Scarecrow section. I missed it. Imaginary games were a lot of fun. Yeah, it was so much fun. It feels like it's fun like making everyday like stuff, you know, into like a little fun game or a little imaginary game. Yeah, おいくそじ。そうだよ。知らないおじさんにね、叩かれるのはちょっと怖い。今でも怖いよ、そんなことあったら。Ibisugaoka Jugako Middle School. Okay, this is the middle school that I attended. It was built when the town was financially well off during the dam construction, so the beautiful facilities are at odds with the rest of the dual buildings in town. I think I met Rinko during my first year here. I remember her surprise when she heard that I called Shu partner. Why was she so surprised? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Ooh, oh my gosh, really? Go away, go away. Go away. I guess just go straight? こっちじゃないよね. Is it this way? Maybe it's unblocked now? Could be unblocked. It got knocked over. Oh, okay, okay, so it is unblocked now. Catch up with Shu. なんかないかな。だよね。こっちなのかな。Catch up with Shu and Rinko. 何もないか。こっちは行き止まりだからこっち。Back in the day, everyone used to hit children with shovels, it seems. Shh. Here's some sussy sounds. With shovels, that's no good. Give everybody gets a complimentary concussion. As a kid. Ooh. Ah, there's so many. Ah, shoot. Maybe it feels like there's loot. I smell loot. My gamer senses are tingling. They're telling me there's loot. Frick, ramune. Iranai. Ramune iranai. Was it just for ramune for real? Okay, not worse. I thought there would be an omamori or something. Ah, chocolate! A new imported candy that has been increasing in popularity. A rare treat for local children. Slightly restores current max sanity. Sanity will be can be used as an offering. Alright, offering it is. I'm always looking for loot. あられ。これだけ？守りはない？ないのね。I just keep going down, I guess. Ugh, there's so many. Is there more stuff? I'm just always looking for more loot. Ugh. Ah, there's... It's empty. Ah, come on. Ah, there's so many of them! Ah! 声が太くなる。後にしよう。I can't fight these guys though. Oh, there's a pipe right there. I need that. Okay, girl. Ah! ちょっと待って。Ah! Dude, it is... Oh my gosh. Steel pipe. Do I have to fight this if I want to save here? Ah! Baka. I just have to try to catch up to them as quickly as possible. Ugh!
今何かが飛んでったぞ。
Hey, what about me? Don't leave me behind. What the heck? I guess this game illustrates how long it took for Japan's economic miracle to reach the rural prefectures. Even so, I think rural Japan is still suffering. Yeah, well, now it's suffering from different things now. There's just not enough people. Well, I mean, I guess in this city, it's also... they're suffering from lack of people. But... yeah. Yeah, and Japan's like peak was like in the 80s, so it's still a little far from it, I think. This takes place in the 60s. Baka obligatory tasukaru. Ugh. So much random sounds. Kurai. Kiriga. Oh gosh, there's more monsters down there. Should I take a health? I have like no items. Wait, where's the arare? Arare ga... where did I put it? Tutorials, monsters, characters. Oh, there's extra stuff now. Already read this. A bizarre monster that looks like a bunch of celluloid dolls intertwined. Each of these dolls was most likely some child's best friend. To think that it would appear like this in my nightmare. Ugh. Dolls are pretty scary. A monster in the form of a miko or a shrine maiden. It sounds just like Sakuko. It looks like Sakuko with the pigtails. It swings around a spiked mason chain. With each swing, the crisp chime of a bell rings out. Is this actually Sakuko, or is it just a monster pretending to be her? I think it's just one form of Sakuko. One aspect to her, possibly. Classic pottery shatters SFX, yeah. Is it like this? Okay, I'm trying to find where my loot is. Oh, here it is. I need to put... where's the arare? I have to put it in here, yeah. Chocolate, these ones. These ones I can give up as an offering. What does it mean? It increases with each consecutive use. Like this? Okay. It's gonna be ad break soon. I don't want to be stuck in something during ad break. I have to go all the way around. Okay. Oh, there's medicine? Okay, that's pretty good for now. Okay, nothing here. Oh gosh, I have to walk through these. They left me in the dust. Eh? I can't go this way? Oh, what the heck? Where'd they go? How'd they... is there a ladder here? There's a ladder here, but I can't use it. Eh? Where'd they go? Was there another way around? What? Maybe this... no, this is a dead end. Okay, I'm getting a lot of these. I should really... I want to save, but... the other save spot was like full of enemies. Ugh! Where's the sound coming from? Upstairs? It's not like it cleared anything up here, right? No. Okay. Which has been your favorite monster so far? Favorite monster... favorite monster... probably... I mean, design-wise, probably Sakuko. The Sakuko monster we just fought. But... let me look. Design-wise, this one. Fighting it, I didn't like it. This one was okay. This one's bleh. This one's bleh. This one's bleh. I mean, the basic ones are pretty cool for now. But yeah, probably design-wise, it was the Sakuko one, this one. Do you guys have a favorite so far? Does the fox guy count as a monster? If so, that was my favorite.
Hinako! こっち!
Oh my god, I don't trust her at all! It was like she luring me into some horrible thing. どこ？こっちってどっち？こっちってどっち？ It makes it sound like it's so close, but it's actually really far away. わかんない。もっと先か。Anyway, it's gonna be ad break, so I'm gonna go on ad break real quick. And then I'll come back and look for them and see if I can save. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Might have been the scarecrows because I always thought scarecrow monsters were cool and underused. True. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the scarecrows are a good close second so far. They were cool. A little annoying to deal with, but they were cool. Do you like the scarecrow from Batman? Wasn't there a bad guy called Scarecrow or whatever his name in Batman? Every time I see this BRB screen, it gets me. Sleepy Gremlin is so cute. Ah, thank you, Gunther. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it's silly. You need some... Everybody needs a little bit of the gremlin moment. Sleepy gremlin moment. Also, I hope your mac and cheese was yummy. Welcome back. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you, Squiddy. Yeah, do you like the scarecrow from Batman? It was pretty cool. You know what? I did like the scarecrow from Batman. I think he's pretty cool. Sometimes he's depicted very differently though, depending on what Batman you're watching though. Sometimes he looks kind of like kind of weak a little bit sometimes, but sometimes he's like really OP. It really depends. The mac and cheese was so good. Oh, that sounds so good. Making me hungry, Gunther. I already ate dinner, but I'm getting hungry again. I'm getting hungry. Said kochi, but I don't know what she means by kochi. Where? Did I already pass it? Am I missing a path somewhere? Did I just walk past it? No, that's just a crack. Let's see what is going on over here. All the enemies despawn. Why did it make that loud sound? Yeah, brainwaves in our BRB screen that make us tired. It's the ippy song. To make you ippy. Just don't let them detect you and then go here and save for once. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Save. My lunch is energy drink? No, that's not enough. That's not enough, coffee. You need to eat more. Just gonna enshrine this. Stamina, though. Actually, I was gonna enshrine the chocolate, right? Max sanity. Just use it as an offering. Okay, I have enough faith. I just need to find the Emma. Should probably save again. Am I going the wrong way? I can't go left. That place is blocked. Did I just miss something? I went all the way over here and then I just couldn't go anymore. That's like the confusing thing about this game. You don't know where to go. Right there. Oh, jeez. Get out of its line of sight. Hmm. こっちってどっちだろう？さっき声が聞こえたけど何も見えない。We're not supposed to like jump off, right? No? Hmm. 家に入れんのかな？どっか入れないよ。Oh, this way? Oh, is this what it meant? Okay. I'm thinking about cutting myself a slice of cherry pie here soon. Oh, cherry pie sounds good. Is it homemade or is it store-bought? 箱がいっぱいある。こっちってことか。なるほど。My kitty is meowing. She's hungry. I wish I can feed her, but I gotta feed her slowly. If I feed her all at once, she just vomits everywhere. ね。猫がずっと泣いてる。待って、この人来た。He's back! Oh my god, he's back! Why is he here? I don't want to fight this guy. It's like too hard to fight him. Why did she run away? Oh my god, I'm out of stamina. Girl! Get up. Hey, which way do I go? Left, I think, but there might be loot. Yeah, I can go in the house. It's gotten into the house? Oh my gosh, girl, really? Oh no. Step back, girls. This calls for a real show man. The hot-blooded baseball samurai steps up to the plate. Okay, interesting. Alright. Yeah, bye.
俺一人だけなんだって知っているだろ。
Who is that? Why you saying you understand me, huh? サムネ。うわー、もうやだ。もうやだ。なんかない？ただ物置。That scared me. I know it's scared. Homemade! Well, that sounds so yummy. Did you make it or someone in your house made it? I feel like cherry pie is underrated. I haven't eaten a whole lot of cherry pie. I probably should eat more. I usually eat like apple pie. Apple pie is pretty good. I love how Hinako looks like she's about to cry when she's being chased. I think it captures Fruit well. Yeah, I hate being chased. Me and Hinako are... we are like kindred spirits. 追いかけられるのは苦手なんで私は本当に怖い。I like that radio station. Can we put on classic rock? Can we put classic rock on? I don't like what they're saying on the radio. Make us go insane and then play an ad for Don Quixote. Don Quixote の広告。ねえ、ドン・キホーテの広告の方がいいよ、今のやつよりは。うん。You made it yourself. Oh my god, Squiddy can do anything. Squiddy can make your alcohol, can make your pie, make other things. I need to live with Squiddy. I need to live with Squiddy. Sounds like a yummy life. Just came through this hall, right? You have to go back down? 見えない。何も見えない。うわ、何こんな家すごく大きくない？何階建て？ How many floors does this house have? Getting a lot of these. うわ！ Close the door! Close it! Close it! Yada 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 yada! ねえ、こんなのある？ Open a freaking door and there's a monster? God, you guys. Can you see me? There's another monster! I can't see anything! I swear there's probably loot in this room. Yes, there is. Kitchen knife. Okay, a light knife for slightly meat fish. It's free, so I need to handle it with care. Oh, just another weapon I could use. That I can potentially use. Okay. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Which way do I go? Oh my gosh, there's no... I might have to fight. No, I don't have space to run. I can't see anything. Oh my god, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Dude, why are there so many monsters in this house? There's that guy too. Oh my gosh. Can I get out? Is there loot here? I'm getting out. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Can I even go this way? No, this way's blocked. Actually... Okay, I think this was good. Oh my gosh, so scary. Ooh. Did I go the wrong way? Am I just... No, I mean, this would work. Oh, Frosty! Frosty, thank you so much for the raid again! Thank you, thank you! Thank you so much! That was scary. I know, that was so scary. Thank you so much. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Hello, Anano Mini Moogle. Welcome in, welcome in. Hi, Frosty. Oh, you were playing Little Nightmares. Last time you were playing Silent Hill F, right? Did you finish Silent Hill F? I hope Little Nightmares 3 was fun. How was that? Hello, us. Us, Philips. Welcome in. Thank you for giving the shout out. Gunther, thank you. No, I did not. We are streaming it tomorrow night. Okay, okay. Fun, fun, fun. I hope you had a good time in Little Nightmares 3. I guess that's like... Did it just come out? There was like another person that was also playing it that raided in earlier. Co-oping with my brother. Okay, that's fine. Cool, cool, cool. How's the game so far? Do you like it? Just came out co-op. Yeah, I noticed it was co-op. That's kind of cool. They are Nano Mini Moogle or just Moogle? Okay. I'll call them Moogle then. Welcome in, welcome in. It's really fun. Nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you so much for coming. I'm still playing Silent Hill. I haven't played it since last week. I think the last time I played it was when you raided in. So it's been a while. I'm trying to get through it, but yeah. Thank you so much. If you need a raid and run or go rest, please do so. You deserve the rest. Thank you so much. One player gets a bow, the other gets a big wrench. Which one do you think is better, the wrench or the bow? Same seas. Yeah. It's been a hot minute. I'm trying to get through as much as possible because I'm about to go on a trip to Japan soon. I'll be gone for 3 weeks after I have 1 more week of streaming and then after that I'll be gone. So I'm trying to get as far as I can. Thank you so much. I'm trying to just get over here too. I hope this isn't spoilers. It might be spoilers. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to get to this area, the school area right now. So yeah, if this is spoilers for anyone, just be warned. Be warned. But thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone has a good day or a good night. Yeah. Okay, this way. I could do with the saves sometime soon. It followed me! I don't have to do this! 何これ? Emma, yosh. Okay. This is good. I needed that. Wait, this isn't the way. 危ない。これ気持ち悪い、この人。なんで? Is this not the right way? Wait, I thought that would be the right way. I'm sorry for the screaming. I scream a lot if you haven't noticed. Wait, I'm trying to figure out where to go. There's nowhere to go. I went down there and I couldn't go. It seems like there's a path up there that you can go, but... Wait, there's a shrine down there. But go around the corner. This way? Shrine? 後にしよう. I have to get out of combat. Maybe I'm out of their line of sight, hopefully? Oh no, I'm not. Oh my gosh, I have to fight this thing. I can't fight in a small area. I'm out of stamina! No! I was right there with the save! There's a collectible? Oh my god, I have to start really far back now. Dude, the lack of saves in this area is so not fun. Well, maybe I can still... Okay, maybe... Okay, it's after I got out of the house. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, that's gonna take me all the way back. Oh. 残念ね、残念。ほんと残念。でもよかった。あんまり思ったほど前じゃなかった。It wasn't as far as I thought. Thank goodness. Okay, I'm gonna save. And then I'm going to actually... pray. ね、アップグレードしよう。スタミナアップグレードしよう。Wait, I thought I picked up the Emma. Where was it? Where was the Emma? Oh shoot, I have to go back and look for it. Oh no. Oh my gosh, where's my Emma? I picked it up somewhere, but I don't know where it is anymore. Does anyone remember where it was? We did a warrior's death, yeah. Does anyone remember where the Emma was? ここから出てきたんだよね。 She's being mean.
もう手遅れなの。どうしようもない。
Why would she say that?
このまま。
Oh my gosh. I'm still looking for my Emma. Is it actually this way? Oh no, I don't remember. Next to the monster? Really? Oh shoot, I really don't remember where it was. It was in that alley of terror, I think. This one? Oh, where it came down from the ceiling? Oh shoot, you're right, you're right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was heading the right way, but I just can't die. Ah, get off! Get off! Get off! Get off! Yeah! Okay, I can't see where I'm going. No, no, no! No! Ah! Please! And it won't let me do it. Oh, it will let me do it, thank goodness. Oh gosh. Okay, now I can do the stamina. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness. Stamina is so important. The way I play. Maybe I can try something. I have like a lot of these. Maybe I'll try like 2. Arare. Namune. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, I guess I can go back to the top now. Okay, recovery for thank you, Squiddy. And thank you for the hints. I appreciate it. Okay, at least I saved here. That's good. I don't know which way. Do I have to go through the house again? Because there's no other path, right? If I go around this way, it's blocked by the red thing. If I go that way, then just go through the house again. Really? I have to go through the house again? No way. Oh, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't? Let me see. I don't know if it like matters to like... Does it matter if I'm running or walking? Is it better if I walk so they can't hear me? Oh, there they are, thank goodness.
シュウ君、嘘ついてるよね。
知らねえよ。
騙せてると思う？ひなこを。
ひなこ、遅かったな。心配したぜ。
心配してなかったよ。相棒なら絶対に大丈夫って言ってた。
そうか。ありがとう。
Bye. What is this weird atmosphere? Dude, why is that? What the heck? It's like you think you're safe because you enter like a cutscene and then they're like, yeah, psych, it's a 5-second cutscene. Now you're back into the thick of it again. No. It's really pretty though. The red is very nice. Okay, wow, this is such a めちゃくちゃ遠回りじゃん。めちゃくちゃ遠回り。うっ、やだ、変なお化けの音がする。Is up there? Oh gosh, there's so many. Go back up this path. Down there? What's up here? Okay, if I go that way, then it goes back to where we were. So I do have to go where the sound is coming from. Got this, thank you, Gunther. I'm trying to get to the school at least before I log off today, just so I can get to a new area. Gotta go feed the kitty. See? Okay. It looks like it's a straight road almost. I hope. Anything here? Nope. No loot. Keep going straight, I guess. Gambaro. Ay, arigato. Arigato, gambaru. Item?
こんなとこに置いとくなんて。
Right carcass, that's good. There's another one of those big monsters down there. こっちになんかないかな? They give you random platforms for nothing. Can I get that shovel? That shovel looks much more effective than a pipe. It's so hard to avoid this one because he has like an AoE attack. Oh no, he's back! He's back! He's back! He's back! He's back! Ah! Ah! Oh my gosh! What is that? He has a big ball on his belly! Ew! Ew! Gross! Gross! Kimacherik! Oh my god, the screen's tearing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. The screen, the brokage. I can't save right now. Ah! Yeah! Dude, how do you even fight that? Is that even fightable? Oh my gosh, I can't even hide. Can I hide? これ。Chocolate, okay. It's so spoopy that it breaks the screen. I know. It's so scary it broke the screen. Dude, there's a shrine. I mean, a hokora right there. Pregnant ant. The monster is pregnant ant. Run. Shiro is going to collapse her skeleton and slide under the door to get her food from you. She probably will, to be honest. She's desperate. Okay. Stay quiet. Hopefully they don't find me. Okay, shh, just don't mind me. I'm gonna go pray a little bit. Okay, actually I need to do it on the top now. Cool. Running with a camcorder. I'm so sorry. I know, it was so spoopy. Enshrine the chocolate though. Okay, I still don't have Emma anyway. I can enshrine the carcass? Yeah. Make some space. Okay. 500. Is all of them gonna be for praying 800? Okay. Wow, 1100 for the next one. You know, this upgrade system kind of reminds me of like Resident Evil. なんかアップグレードのシステムがなんかバイオハザードっぽい気がする。I hear the monster. I don't want it to hear me. どんどん上に登っていけばいいのかな? Is there something at the end of this road here? No? Okay, nothing. Ah, the screen's kind of tearing. But Shiro goes hard. Shiro will go to great means to get what she wants. Mugo, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Fruit Kingdom. Oh my gosh. Infinite Gardens. What? Fruit Kingdom, what? I think I just had my past life flash before me. What? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's been so long and I still say Fruit Kingdom. I mean, Fruit Kingdom still works. Oh gosh, the screen. I might have to restart actually.
前の台風で崩落してこのままになってる。
Wait, I can't go this way? It's blocked? うわ、後ろから来た。I can't go this way. Okay, it's blocked, so I have to go the other way? Go... Oh gosh, I have to go back the way I just came. Oh, there's a little path right here. Okay. Gosh. Many items. Oh, this radio doesn't work. Okay. Default script, I know. I did it for so long. This is from the Obon Festival. Isn't it a bit early? Evil Warding Lantern. A type of revolving lantern that has a long history in Ebisugaoka. The picture silhouette rotates inside the lantern due to the air current that the candle makes. Normally, revolving lanterns are for entertainment, but the ones in Ebisugaoka were specifically used to ward off evil. In Ebisugaoka, there is a custom where women in unlucky ages hang it on their front door during Obon. なるほどね。まあ、悪い例とか悪いものを、お悪いものから身を守るためのやつね。はい。If you are knights before what we are now, you prisoners. I mean, what? You're still knights. You're still knights of the Fruit Kingdom. The Backrooms and the Fruit Kingdom are very closely tied together. These games throw crazy horrors at you, but also are like the small 2x4 makes it completely impassable. I know. I know. It's very interesting. It's game logic. Game logic. Unlucky ages. Yeah, I don't know what the unlucky ages are, to be honest. What are the unlucky ages? なんか、運が悪い年っていうのがあるの。よくわかんないけど。でもなんか、なんだっけ、例えば、獅子例えば、ネズミ年とか、タツ年とか、その年女とか年男とかってさ、その年が悪い年だって言われたりしない？その年がなのかな？よくわかんない。その年が一番悪いって言われるような。You know, like the Chinese zodiac with like the year of the dragon, year of the hare, year of the monkey. Like I've heard that when it's your year, it's like technically it's like a bad luck or something. It's like bad year. So you gotta be careful or whatever. Prisoners? I mean, okay. It's okay. You are honorary guests of the Backrooms. Nothing... Something with a 4, maybe. Maybe that could be, yeah. 4, 14, 24. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. What are the unlucky ages? 運の悪い年って何の年だろう? Well, will it protect me from anything right now? How old am I now in this game? 16? まあ、ひなこは何歳なんだ ?16? かな ?17? 高校生だよね。なんか There's like little nooks and crannies, but they have nothing in there sometimes. あ、いたいたいたいた。
やめてくれ。そんな話。
はい、おやすみ無言。おやすみ、good night。
シュウ君がしっかりと現実を見るまでやめない。
だからやめてくれ。俺は。
なら言ってあげる。ひなこはね、死んだんだよ。ひなこは向こうの世界で楽しくやっているんだから。
相棒、遅かったな。さあ、行こうぜ。
I'm dead? Are you gonna pull a little misfortune on me? I was dead the whole time? You can't do that. I mean, maybe it makes sense. Maybe I'm not dead. Maybe I'm like on the verge between life and death, and this is the world we're in now. Am I actually dead? How do you know if you're dead? Plot twist. Knuckles dead? I've been dead the whole time. I thought it was my sister that died. I thought it was Junko or whatever her name was. うち死んでんの？今までずっと死んでたうちレイなの？本物じゃない。お姉ちゃんが死んだんだと思って自分死んだの。These six sense you? This is so weird, guys. The unlucky ages for women are 1933 and 37. Japan believes these are the years of calamity in a woman's life. Really? Uh-oh. Why is 33 and 37 so close together? Why? That's like the worst. 30s. The dreaded 30s. Is this real? I can't tell if Rinko's telling the truth or if she's just being a poo-poo head. My guess is I'm on the verge of death, but she's just like, oh, she's already dead. So, you know, stop thinking about her shoe. Think about me. Even though I'm not actually dead yet. But I might almost be dead. Maybe got hit by a truck or something. Got isekai'd. Oh, that's what happened. I got isekai'd. 異世界アニメみたいになってトラックにはねられて異世界に行って、そういうこと？
昔はシュートこの辺で道草食ってた。
Space Wars. It's page 2. Not to brag, but we've taken down the enemy's mothership, the giant UFO, on many occasions. However, each time that happened, the Galactic Imperium would deploy more and more troops from their home planet. As we grew older, we were able to have a better understanding of heroes by watching television, and I think we came up with some elaborate backstories for the enemy leaders. But this time, it was a world that only Shu and I knew. Interesting. Ah, page is breaking. Okay. Wasn't she the one who pushed you down the stairs earlier? Yeah, she was, but I don't think I died there, right? If anything, I probably died at the very beginning of this game. Like a lot of games like to do. I don't think it was that scene. But I think this is like referring to like... I don't know if you guys heard of kamikakushi, but... in Japan, there's something called kamikakushi. If you watched Spirited Away, you might know, but it's like when the gods play tricks on you and they kind of like sweep you away into their world. You know, especially like children. I think this whole like scenario is like referring to that, I think. これ結局神隠しみたいなもんだよね。千と千尋じゃないけど。どっかに連れてかれたっていう神様の世界っていうか。神様の世界ではないけどなんか異世界みたいな。The screen's breaking really bad. Please let there be a save in the school.
鍵がかかってる。昔はなかったのに。
鍵は学校にあるはずだ。
ちょっと休憩しようよ。
On the way to school, the little sparrow escapes with its friends, wings flapping nervously. That's my Steam achievement. Can I save? I know, just climb the fence. It's not a big fence. ね。塀の上登れるよね。登ろうと思えば。
もうダメ。しばらく休ませて。
相棒も疲れただろう。休んでてくれ。俺は鍵を探してくる。
分かった。
シュウ君が一緒じゃないと嫌だよ。心細いよ。お願い、一緒にいて。ね。
あー、リンコ。
俺が一緒じゃなくても。
相棒も少し休め。鍵は私が探す。
そうだよ。シュウ君はずっと戦闘で頑張ってたんだから。後からついてくるだけだったひな子の方が余裕あるって。
おい、そんな言い方をするなよ。
私は気にしない。二人とも休んでてくれ。行ってくる。
Man, I'm such a boss girl. I'm boss girling my way through this. But Rinko is a biatch. She's a biatch. Oh my god, it's the school section. Can I save? I was hoping there would be a save in the school, but... なんで? No save here? Can't open it. マジ? セーブできないのここ。陸上部。陸上競技会。最速を目指す。読めない。正しいことは自信を持って。OK? If you remember that we should go haunt Dinko, we should. We should haunt Dinko. I've already set my mind to it. Yeah, we got isekai, yeah. Here's Japan believes that things are going so well in your 30s that things are just asking to go wrong. So that's when people pray the hardest to not get hit by a bus. Oh my gosh. I did not know that. They're like, you can't possibly be doing this well. Here's a bus. Ibisugaoka middle school floor plan. Okay, I got him. Okay. I want to save. It's not like a really big school though, but maybe it has multiple floors. セーブさせてください。この部屋戻れないね。I can't go back. I should look for the key. Can I save? The other save was so far away. Yeah, I can't even go back there.
卒業以来だな。
Just need to find No Face now, yeah. This is Spirited Away world. Ugh. Ugh. ねえ、どっかでセーブさせて。I have to feed the kitty kitty. You said a fruit, she is one? A biatch. Maybe it's outside? Huh? It's I was hoping it would be like tucked away somewhere. But I don't think it is. Oh man. Please. I bet it's gonna be where all the monsters are. I keep forgetting to ask, but we didn't lose the most recent VOD of Cry of Fear when your PC exploded, did we? No, I'm pretty sure I have all the VODs. I think I just haven't been able to upload it yet. But it should be available. Oh, here it is! I knew it. My gamer instincts. Oh, origami of rumors. Ha, looks like someone heard my prayers to whichever god who answered them. Thank you? Nani kore? Uwasa no origami. Origami of grievance. There's a custom that's said to get rid of your worries like magic. You write grievances that you can't tell anyone on a piece of paper folded into an origami fox and throw it somewhere that no one will find it. Oh, I know this! I didn't hear about the fox part, but I've done this before. If you happen to come across someone else's origami of grievance, you can put it to rest by reading it. No matter what's written on it, you have to keep the information to yourself and not tell a single soul. Huh. It's a tradition that's been in this town for ages, but it was particularly popular for middle schoolers. No, I mean, like, I don't think this is fictional. I think this is a real thing that people used to do. Some kids would indirectly bully others by writing gossip about the people they hated and making sure to put it in a place they would see it. I personally don't like to write bad things about people, or read them for that matter. They say that you can put those complaints to rest by reading them, so I make the effort to read them out. But to be honest, I'd rather not pick them up when I see them. Well, too bad you picked it up. And I'm a nosy girl. I gotta read it. I want to watch back the vents portion. Yeah, I'll upload it for sure before I leave for the trip. Don't worry. In middle school. This is okay, Ibisugaoka used to be a lively town with an ample labor force for construction and coal mining when this school was built. This town was always bustling and the school was full of students. The students at that time studied how to further improve the town as adults. The students of our time now study so that we can leave to go on a bigger town when we're adults. Okay. You know, I'm starting to think, so you know this game has a second ending, right? Or like a second run-through that can get you a different ending? Maybe the first ending is like, yeah, Hinako died, you died, you've been dead this whole time, and you're gonna stay dead. Maybe the second playthrough, you have a chance to save yourself. Possibly. Kind of like, what was it? Signalis. Yeah, Signalis has a second run to it too. Which I did not do, but...
この祠、学校創立より古いとか、ダム建設で一山当てた成金が、わざわざここに学校を建てたって聞いたことがある。
You think the school is cursed? Because they built it where they're not supposed to? もう今がないよね。だよね。Is there anything to enshrine? Health and current max sanity can also be used as an offering. Max sanity. I think I'll offer this. Okay. Save again. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop here since this is a new section to the game. I got like a decent amount done. Not like a lot, but I think this is good for now. Let me save. Oh, not save. Pause. Okay. Yay! Okay, that's it for today. I think I got a good chunk done. I do have a raid message already from last time. I think Coffee wrote a raid message. Let me see. Open it. Actually, let me exit the game because this is gonna lag everything. Title screen. Confirm. That's good, that's good. You met the Scream requirements? What's the Scream requirements? Franzakiba, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let me get that, fetch that message real quick. GG, yeah, GG Oz, thank you so much for coming. Good to see you again. I don't know if this works though, because it includes the emotes as words. Let me hold. Oh, it does, it works. That's the raid message, but let me see who I can raid into first. The only thing that sort of reminds me of is when schoolmates burned their study papers in a bonfire when we graduated. Oh yeah, I did that too. Well, I didn't burn mine, but I think a lot of people did. They burn like their reusable, not reusable. It's like the one-time use like textbooks. And just burned it in a bonfire after school. That was fun. I'm totally paranoid, but I'm always aware of when the person behind me is doing when I walk downstairs in public. Yeah, no, that's me on like escalators. Stairs, maybe a little, but escalators for some reason it scares me. It freaks me out. I'm always scared I'll just like lose balance and fall off for some reason. If you just stream another hour, I could have finished work. I'm sorry, Coffee. You got this. できるよ、コーヒー。頑張れ。あと1時間で仕事終わりでしょ。頑張れ、頑張れ。あとちょっとだ。Viewers. Okay, let me see who's streaming. A lot of people are actually playing Silent Hill F right now. You know what? I haven't been to Chacha's stream in a little bit. It's been a little while. Maybe I should go there. Let me see if she's gonna end soon or not. Because she's not playing games today. She's actually sharing pictures of her trip to Atami. So, let me see. Chacha. I don't think she's ending yet. She's still sharing pictures from her trip. I think that's good. Wait, I didn't even realize the F in Silent Hill F stood for fruit. It's perfect. Yeah, you didn't know? I conspired with the developers and I threatened. I mean, I convinced them to put F in for fruit, you know. It's a game to honor me. Of course, being the greatest fruit entity of the Backrooms, yes. I know people burning the Bible after they grad. My school has mandatory oh my gosh, that sounds kind of not good. Burning textbooks is one thing. Burning Bibles is like a whole nother thing. Holy crap. That is a little concerning, but you know what? Different country, different opinions, I guess. It was meant to be, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone for coming. I'm gonna raid Chacha. So tomorrow, I'm not gonna stream. Instead, I'll do community night on my Discord. I'm gonna play some Phasmo with you guys. It's a little spooky game for spooky month. So if anyone's interested, you could drop by. Here's my Discord. If anybody... It'll be at 10 p.m. EST tomorrow. Phasmophobia community night. And then I'll probably stream on Sunday instead to like make up for it and try to progress a little bit more. But Sunday it'll be like an earlier stream most likely because I have work on Monday. Blah. I vowed to survive. Thank you. Please survive. We need you, Squiddy. We need your expertise. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming. I am going to start the raid for Chacha. Be nice to Chacha. Chacha also plays a lot of horror games. She also speaks Japanese and English like me, but she's like native Japanese. So her Japanese might be a bit better than mine. But yeah, please be nice. Drop some follow if you want. Well, thank you for coming. 来てくれてありがとうございます。Safe travels. Thank you. Yeah, I have one more week till I go. But thank you, us. Alright, I'm gonna move to the ending screen, but yeah, I'm gonna start the raid and move to the ending screen. Alright. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Yep. Thank you, everyone, for coming. The raid is starting, but thank you, Wolf. Thank you. There's two wolves now. There's Wolf Ride and Wolf Gang. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Squiddy. Thank you. Thank you, Oz. Thank you, Coffee. Thank you, Gunther. And thank you. I think there's a couple other people probably lurking, but yeah, thank you so much for coming, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the raids today too. Thank you for the follows. Thank you. またね。はい、またね。また次は日曜日、アメリカ時間の日曜日だから、日本時間の月曜日の午前中に配信します。Thank you for coming. Yep, see you tomorrow if you're gonna join for Phasmophobia. Thank you. Alright, I'll just go ahead and send you all over to Tata.